The Priestess's time travel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451 Old Age Life VI. Su Qingni said he wanted a divorce, and his wife went back to her parents' home in anger and took their son Charlie away. Su Qingni sat in his living room and reflected deeply on his past mistakes. He found that he had made a big mistake. Not to mention being unfilial to his father, he also found that he was wrong in raising his son. Because he was too busy with work, his son was taken care of by a nanny most of the time. The nanny was a native of the United States. The first sentence his son spoke was English. After a few years, his son became like an ordinary child in the United States. English became his first language, but he spoke his mother tongue Chinese haltingly, and he couldn't even speak a complete sentence in Chinese, and he didn't understand Chinese culture at all. He also gave him an English name called Charlie. It can be said that his son has black hair, black eyes and yellow skin. He is already a Native American, not a Chinese. How can Su Qingni, who is Chinese, feel comfortable? Although he got a green card from the United States and lived abroad, his patriotic education from childhood made him love his country deeply. He knew where his roots were and never forgot that he was a Chinese. But his son was like this. Su Qingni was dissatisfied with his wife and his father-in-law and mother-in-law. His wife and his father-in-law and mother-in-law were naturally Chinese, but they came from a city that had long been assimilated by colonial culture, and the whole family immigrated here. They did not have the same patriotic feelings as Su Qingni, and they had a low sense of belonging to the country. Sigh. A long sigh. If he had chosen to marry a woman from China, his son would not have become a banana person, right? Su's wife was driven back by her father-in-law and mother-in-law the next day. After all, the father-in-law and mother-in-law saw it more clearly than their daughter. The father-in-law was the husband's elder, and filial piety was his due. Moreover, the father-in-law was so far away and it was impossible for them to see him often. It would not affect their daily lives. What's wrong with visiting him occasionally? It only happened once every few years, and it was just a matter of a few days of grievance. Why did she have to fall out with her husband because of this? Did she really want to divorce her husband? Su Qingni breathed a sigh of relief. He said that divorce was just to scare his wife, and he didn't really want a divorce. Divorce is not good for his son. He is not satisfied with his son and doesn't want his son to be hurt. This is what the old father thinks. Su Qingni now understands his father's psychology better. Su Qingni retired after winning the championship with the team. He was originally here to help, but he didn't think about being a professional esports player. This position should be given to young people. Now the team has won the world championship, and there are many players who want to join the team. There is no need to worry about the problem of players being available. Therefore, even if they are reluctant, the coach and Liu Heis and others can only watch Su Qingni leave. Returning to the ordinary, Su Qingni's life has not been affected too much. After all, esports is a project that young people like, and adults and the elderly don't pay much attention to it. Even if the old men and women in the community know that Su Qingni played games abroad and won international awards, they didn't let everyone regard Su Qingni as a big star, but still regarded him as an old neighbor. But everyone envied Su Qingni for receiving advertisements and making a lot of money. The advertisement was brought by participating in an esports competition. The pay was not particularly high, but the product quality was pretty good, so Su Qingni took the advertisement. As a result, the advertising director recommended a job to Su Qingni, playing a relatively important role in a movie. The movie director was the advertising director's senior. After seeing the video shot by the advertising director, he personally came to Su Qingni and invited Su Qingni with the greatest sincerity. Su Qingni had never thought about mixing in the entertainment industry, but the sincerity of the movie director was real. After reading the script, she thought the movie was good and the role was interesting, so she agreed to the movie director. Although this role is relatively important, there are not many shots. Su Qingni stayed in the crew for a week and finished shooting all her shots. She used her acting skills to educate other people in the crew. Humph, do you really think that the old man is easy to bully? The old man has eaten more salt than you have rice, and you still dare to look down on the old man? Talking about the old man behind his back. Humph, we old men don't use words to argue with you, that's too cheap. The old man crushes you with his acting skills, so that you know how big the gap is between you and the old man. In this regard, the film director gave Su Qingni a thumbs up. Good education. A group of people who don't know how to improve their acting skills and only know how to intrigue, the old man will teach you how to be a man. Now it's good, everyone has been taught a lesson, and they are more obedient, and the filming progress is much smoother. When Su Jianwen returned to China with his wife and son, the film had completed post-production and was about to be released. The movie's promotional posters were posted on the airport and billboards along the way. Because of the importance of Su Qingni's role to the movie, Su Qingni's portrait was also included in the poster. Su Jianwen was dumbfounded when he saw the portrait on the poster. He didn't expect that his father's life was so colorful. Not only was he an esports champion, but he also starred in a movie. Su's wife was also dumbfounded when she saw the portrait of her father-in-law. She poked Su Jianwen's waist for confirmation and asked, "Is that really your father?" Su Jianwen nodded. He was sure that it was really his father, not someone who looked like him. There was a mole on the left side of his father's eyebrow, and the person on the poster also had it, and the position and size were exactly the same. Your dad actually made a movie, so he must have made a lot of money, right? Su's wife said. If she had known that Su Jianwen's dad made money by making movies, she would have asked her husband and son to contact Su's dad more often. Su Jianwen frowned. No matter how much money my dad makes, it's his, don't try to get it. Su's wife snorted, sooner or later, it will all belong to you and Charlie. Su Jianwen was angry. Su's wife was cursing his father to die soon. Shut up. If you say that again, I will divorce you. Su's wife felt wronged. I'm doing this for you and Charlie, and you're so mean to me. Su Jianwen said coldly, is it really for the good of me and my son? Or, do you want to use my dad's money to subsidize your family's restaurant? Don't think I don't know that your family's restaurant has been losing money for a while because it's sold. Your parents want to renovate the restaurant, but they don't have enough money, so you are trying to get my dad's money, right? Su's wife blushed. Su Jianwen really hit her mind. She and Su Jianwen also had money, but she didn't want to lend out her family's money, as she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to get it back. But her parents wanted money, so she couldn't justify not lending it to them, so she turned to Su's father. Don't you have savings? Why don't you lend your savings to your parents? Chapter 452 Old Age Life Part 8. Su's wife's face turned red and white, but it was wrong for her to use her father-in-law's money to get close to her parents' family. She could no longer refute, so she could only hold her breath and not talk to Su Jianwen. Charlie looked at everything around him with great interest and said to Su Jianwen, Dad, the environment in the flower country looks very good. It's quite rich, not as poor as my classmates said. Su Jianwen snorted coldly, don't listen to those people's nonsense in the future. The flower country is the safest and best country in the world. He was amazed at the great changes in his hometown while speaking. He hadn't been back to his hometown for more than 10 years. His hometown has been developing better and better, and many places have caught up with the city where he works now. Should he return to China to develop? Thinking of this, he shook his head again. If he returns to China to develop, his wife will definitely oppose it. And his son will definitely not want to return to China, right? Oh, what a trouble. Su Qingni received a call from Su Jianwen early in the morning, and she didn't clean up the room at home. The original home had 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. One of the rooms was the room where Su Jianwen lived before going abroad, and now it was changed into a study by Su Qingni. The house is so small, Su's wife will definitely not be able to stand it, and will definitely take Su Jianwen to stay in a hotel. Why should she bother to clean the room? Welcome banquet? Yes, but it's just takeout. She hasn't cooked for a long time. The doorbell rang. Su Qingni opened the door, and sure enough, it was her adopted son outside. After not seeing each other for 8 or 9 years, the adopted son has changed a lot, and the most obvious change is that his hairline has receded a lot. In front of the son is the adopted grandson, his eyes rolling around, looking at Su Qingni, but he didn't call anyone at the first time. Behind the son is the daughter-in-law with a bad face, who only smiled reluctantly when she saw Su Qingni. Su Qingni took 2 steps back and said lightly, "Come in." Su Jianwen took his son into the living room. The total area of the Su family's house is only 70 square meters, and the living room is not big, which can't be compared with the adopted son's house in the United States. The United States is vast and sparsely populated, so the accommodation area is naturally large. The adopted son's house in the United States is an independent two-story villa with a large space and comfortable living. The adopted grandson was used to living in a big house, and when he saw the small living room, he showed a contemptuous expression. Su Qingni saw it, but was too lazy to say anything. She asked people to come in and sit down, and put the fruit on the coffee table. If they wanted to eat, they could peel it themselves. "Dad," Su Jianwen called out. Compared with the attitude of his father and mother, who were busy running around when he came home from college, his father's cold attitude now made Su Jianwen feel very uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, my son is unfilial. It took so long to come back to see you." "You are sorry for Su Ziguo," Su Qingni said lightly. "Su Ziguo, who cared about you, is dead. I, who am sitting here, don't care about my son and grandson, and I don't care about my daughter-in-law who doesn't respect me from the bottom of my heart." Su Qingni glanced at Su's wife coldly, and the coldness in her eyes made Su's wife feel cold. At this moment, she dared not look down on Su's father anymore. Su's father had changed so much that she was scared. She didn't dare to covet Su's father's money anymore. "Dad, don't say that. Charlie and I will be filial to you in the future," Su Jianwen said uncomfortably. His father really doesn't care about him anymore and doesn't want him as his son. Su Qingni took out the original owner's bank card and put it in front of Su Jianwen. "This is the money that Su Ziguo left for you and Charlie. I'm giving it to you now. There is also money from selling the house. I have sold this house now, and all the money is for you. I will live happily alone in the future, and you don't have to worry about me anymore. Just live a good life in the United States." "Dad," Su Jianwen begged. But Su Qingni stood up. "Let's go. Go to the hotel, book a room first, and then have dinner together. I will pay for all the hotel accommodation and meals. Just think of it as the last thing I do for you as a father." "Dad," Su Jianwen's tears flowed out all at once. He had never regretted so much at this moment. He really lost his father. Su Qingni did not soften her heart because of Su Jianwen's crying. She just sat aside and let Su Jianwen cry. Charlie was upset. The old man in front of him actually made his father cry. He wanted to stand up and argue with Su Qingni angrily, but Su's wife hugged him and stopped him from causing trouble for Su Qingni. Su's wife saw that Su's father really didn't care about his son, so naturally he didn't care about his daughter-in-law and grandson. Going up to Tiger and Su's father to argue would not only have no effect, but it might make Su's father angry and drive them out directly. In this way, Su Jianwen would be even more sad. "Alice, how did things develop to this point?" Su's wife regretted it very much, really regretted it. Of course, the focus of her regret was different from Su Jianwen's. She regretted that she could not get more money from Su's father in the future. When Su Jianwen's tears stopped, Su Qingni said, "Let's go to the hotel." Su Jianwen stood up silently and followed Su Qingni out silently. Su Jianwen and his family of 3 stayed in China for a week. During the week, Su Jianwen behaved very well, was very filial to Su Qingni, and wanted to help Su Qingni. However, Su Qingni didn't need help from others at all. During this week, Su Jianwen also saw clearly that his father was living a good life. Even without his son to take care of him, his father was still living a happy life. In the end, Su Jianwen left China with mixed feelings and returned to the United States. He took away the bank card that Su Qingni gave him. The card contained his father's last love for him. He would come back to visit his father every year in the future, hoping that his father would forgive him one day and recognize him as his son again. Su Qingni sighed softly. Su Jianwen's regret came too late. The person who really made him feel guilty was no longer there. Su Qingni originally thought that after giving all the original owner's things to Su Jianwen, she would have nothing to do with Su Jianwen, and she would not leave the money she earned to Su Jianwen. But Su Jianwen has behaved very well since that time. He returns to China to visit Su Qingni every year and calls Su Qingni every week. Although Su Qingni feels annoyed, this filial piety makes Su Qingni unable to deny it against her will. When Su Qingni left this world, she still left a part of her earned money to Su Jianwen and Charlie, who spoke Chinese very well after Su Jianwen's education. By the way, Charlie took a Chinese name, Su Nianhua, and Su Jianwen asked him to pronounce Huaxia and remember that he was a Chinese. After the child graduated from elementary school, Su Jianwen quit his job abroad and brought Su Nianhua back to China. Su Qingni donated all the rest of the money to the whole project. Su's wife was very angry about this, but Su Jianwen thought it was natural, not to mention that his father did not leave him an inheritance. Chapter 453 Using a Yi. Once again, I traveled to the Qing dynasty. Su Qingni cited her current identity. The original body was a noble son from a wealthy family. His grandfather and father were both powerful. The female elders in the family were empress dowagers for 2 consecutive generations. Well, they died early. The empress dowager was posthumously conferred, and the empress was only 3 days. This origin can make many people envy you, but unfortunately, the original body was indeed ridiculed and sympathized by others. The reason is nothing else. Because the original body's father was a guy who favored his concubine and killed his wife, the original body's mother was bullied by the concubine and was neither human nor ghost, but the original body was afraid that his father would be angry and did not dare to help his mother. How can you not be ridiculed if you are so cowardly? However, Su Qingni knew after receiving the memory of the original body that the boy did not want to help his mother, but he did not have the power to help his mother. His father controlled the whole family, and the servants all went to curry favor with his father's favorite concubine. Who would listen to him? Help the boy? The boy can only endure and lie dormant. He wants to find an opportunity to defeat the father who made him resentful and his concubine to avenge his mother. However, the boy's wish did not come true, and he lost his life in an accident. Don't worry, I will help you fulfill your wish and make sure your father and that woman don't have a good ending. Su Qingni said softly, and recited a passage from the Ksiddhagarbha Sutra, sending the boy's soul into the projection of the underworld, waiting for reincarnation. Accident? Haha, Su Qingni sneered, is it really an accident? This can only deceive outsiders who are unaware of the situation. I'm afraid the whole family knows what the inside story is. The original body occupied the position of the eldest son, and the resources in the family would be given more. This made the concubine who had her own biological son very unhappy, so such an accident happened. The elders in the family were very angry and wanted to deal with the concubine, but with the boy's father strongly protecting the concubine, the elders in the family had no choice, and the accident could only be an accident. Longkado. Li Seer. Su Qingni spit out 2 names. I never thought that I would travel to Yu Xing's body and witness Longkado and Li Seer, 2 famous couples in the Qing dynasty, no, in history. In the past few days of observation, she found that although Li Seer was beautiful, she was not particularly outstanding. In this world, women who were more beautiful than Li Seer were not beauties. In addition to being fierce and more sexy, Su Qingni could not see how special Li Seer was. The most special thing was that she was ruthless. Su Qingni didn't understand why Longkado was so obsessed with Li Seer. Sometimes she wondered if it was because Li Seer had put a gu on Longkado, or if Li Seer was a vixen. But there was no extraordinary power in this world. Su Qingni could only practice martial arts but not immortal cultivation techniques, and could not smuggle the storage bag into this world. Therefore, it can be proved that there are no goblins in this world. As for the goo, Su Qingni checked the bodies of the 2 people while they were sleeping, and there were no goo worms in them, so it was not love goo or something like that. Longkado dotes on Li Seer so much that it can only be explained by the word bad fate. It is difficult for Su Qingni to deal with Longkado and Li Seer with the power she has now. Su Qingni can simply kill the 2 people, but this is too cheap for them. I think the original owner doesn't want them to die so easily. It's really not a simple matter to deal with 2 people. Although Longkado is despised by others for Li Seer's affairs, he is capable and trusted by 2 generations of emperors. Until Yongzhang couldn't stand Longkado's arrogance, Su Qingni really couldn't think of a way to beat Longkado to dust. Think about it slowly. Su Qingni rubbed his head. The most important thing now is to rescue the original body's biological mother, Heshli. Heshli has not been made into a human pig by Li Seer yet, but she has been tortured beyond recognition. She must be rescued and recuperated quickly. Otherwise, if you rescue people later, you don't know how much more torture you will suffer during the period. It will be more difficult to recuperate and your lifespan will be affected. Su Qingni overheard that Li Seer had already had the idea of turning Heshli into a human pig, but he had not yet implemented it. That night, the Tong family caught fire, and the owner's house was not burned by the fire. Only some utility rooms and remote courtyards were burned. Most of the people in the mansion were fine, only Longkado's original wife was burned to death. Longkado and Li Seer locked Heshli in a remote courtyard and tortured her. The courtyard was burned down. The fire was very big, and there was absolutely no way for the people inside to survive. Long Kato and Li Seer only heard that a charred body was found inside. Without confirmation, they determined that it was Heshli's body. The two people did not doubt that Heshli was rescued before the fire started. After all, the fire was too strange. But the key is that the Tong family is not an ordinary family. The Tong family is a duke's mansion. The mansion is heavily guarded and there are many servants. Who has the ability to take Heshli away from the Tong mansion without alarming anyone? Unless it was the secret guard of His Majesty the Emperor. But would His Majesty the Emperor care about such things in the backyard? The two deny that Heshli was rescued. Moreover, even if Heshli was rescued, so what? They said that Heshli was dead, and even if Heshli came forward again in the future, they would not recognize her identity. She is a dead person, how can she live in this world? Wait until Heshli's funeral is completed, and I will make you the legitimate wife. Long Kato promised Li Seer. Li Seer pretended to be worried and said, others will not agree. Long Kato snorted, as long as the master agrees, who dares to object? Li Seer's eyes moved, and she said in a delicate voice, I like the domineering look of the master. Long Kato happily picked up Li Seer and brought him into the room. Su Qingni watched the door of the two people close, sneered, and returned to the morning hall to pretend to be a filial son. At night, when everyone was asleep, Su Qingni left the morning hall, used her Qingguang skills to leave the Tong mansion, and came to the shop in the outer city. The outside of this shop is a shop, and the inside is a place for people to live. This is one of Heshli's dowry. When the original body was still young, Heshli gave the shop to the original body, and let the profit of the shop be the original body's pocket money. Later, Heshli's situation in the Tong family became worse and worse, and her dowry was taken away by Li Seer. Because this shop was given to the original body, Long Kato and Li Seer did not know, so it was not taken away, and it also became a resting place for the original body to relax. Now, Su Qingni arranged Heshli in this shop. Chapter 454 Using R. There was only Heshli in the shop. Su Qingni added a drug to make her sleepy to the medicine she fed her. Su Qingni really had no available staff to take care of Heshli. The servants of the Tong family could not be used. Heshli's original dowry had been sent away by Long Kato and Li Seer. The servants of the Tong mansion all listened to these two people, and it was impossible for them to serve the nominal lady and eldest master, who had no future. As for the servants, Su Qingni was not at all at ease to hand Heshli over to strangers without training and without extraordinary means to restrain these servants. Su Qingni could only work hard on her own. Let Heshli fall asleep during the day, come to wake her up at night, feed her medicine and food. Heshli was emaciated, and the whole person was like a skeleton wrapped in a layer of skin, which looked terrible. When Su Qingni pushed her awake, Heshli only opened her eyes without any response, just like a living dead. Su Qingni helped the man up, scooped a spoonful of medicine with a spoon, and fed it to Heshli's mouth. The bitter taste in her mouth finally brought Heshli back to her senses. With the help of the light, she saw clearly that the person feeding her medicine was her most missed son Using A. Using A, you, why are you here? Go quickly, don't let that vicious woman see you. Otherwise, the vicious woman will do something to you. Heshli was shocked. Her worry about her son outweighed everything else. She raised her hands and pushed Su Qingni. Unfortunately, she had no strength, and her hands fell down only halfway up. Pain and despair flashed in Heshli's eyes. Mother, don't be anxious and don't be afraid. It's okay, the vicious womanly won't find me. Su Qingni hurriedly spoke to comfort Heshli. Heshli didn't believe Su Qingni's words. The backyard of Tong Mansion was under the control of Li Seer. Even her own aunt, old Heshli, didn't have as much power as Li Seer in the backyard. As long as Yu Xingge comes into contact with me, someone will definitely report it to Li Seer. I don't know how Li Seer will deal with Using A. Don't count on that guy Long Kato. This guy only has Li Seer in his heart. Even if Yu Xingge is his son, he is not as important as Li Seer in his heart. Mother, don't be afraid. We are not in Tong Mansion now. Your son has rescued you. Look at the surrounding environment. Is it completely different from Tong Mansion? Su Qingni said soothingly. Heshli really turned around to check the furnishings in the house and the scenery outside the window. It is already midnight, it is very dark outside, and the scenery outside cannot be seen clearly, but after living in Tong Mansion for more than 10 years, Heshli's mansion is very familiar with the environment of Tong Mansion. Although the scenery outside is not clear, no matter how unclear it is, you can still see an outline under the moonlight. It is a very narrow courtyard, which is not similar to Tong Mansion. The smallest courtyard in Tong Mansion is larger than this courtyard, which is only 3 meters wide and 5 meters long. Looking at the furnishings in the house, they are very simple and cheap. The furnishings in the servants' rooms of the Tong Mansion are better than those in this house. Really not in the Tong Mansion. Heshley's eyes widened in surprise, the despair in her eyes dissipated, and a trace of life returned to her eyes. Su Qingni nodded. This is the backyard of the shop you gave me. I took back the shop and brought you here to recuperate. But mother, in order to avoid being discovered by that vicious woman Li Seer, I did not arrange for servants to come and take care of you. Please bear with it. When I finish dealing with the things in the Tong Mansion, I will find a few trustworthy servants to serve you. No, don't worry about me. As long as you are fine, mother will take care of herself. Heshley said hurriedly. If mother had not learned to take care of herself these years, she would have died long ago without being tortured by Li Seer. Heshley and Su Qingni both recalled the situation when Heshley was just locked up in the side yard by Long Kato. At that time, the old Heshley was in charge of the Tong Mansion. Li Seer didn't dare to be too harsh on Heshley, and didn't dare to torture Heshley too much. He just didn't let the servants take care of Heshley. Heshley could only wash clothes, boil water and heat meals by herself, and take care of herself. It was at that time that a noble lady who had never touched the spring water since childhood became like a village girl. Later, the old Heshley gave up the housekeeping power due to physical reasons, and Long Kato forcefully snatched the housekeeping power to Li Seer. From that time on, Heshley's miserable suffering officially began. Whenever Li Seer was unhappy, he would go to the side yard to whip and torture Heshley, and torture Heshley to death, and then let people treat Heshley. She didn't let Heshley die. She wanted Heshley to live for a long time and be tortured by her. Yu Xingge didn't know what the conflict between Heshley and Li Seer was. Now Heshley's mental state and physical condition were not good. Su Qingni could only suppress her curiosity and wait for Heshley to get better before asking her. I just don't know if Heshley is willing to tell it. After feeding Heshley the medicine, she ate a bowl of porridge. The porridge was taken from the kitchen of Tong Mansion. The ingredients used in it were all the best. Red-stemmed rice was the main ingredient, and rock sugar, white fungus and lotus seeds were also put in it. It was very nourishing. Heshley's appetite had been ruined. She could not eat half of the bowl of porridge. Su Qingni wiped her mouth, helped Heshley lie down, and sat beside the bed to talk to Heshley. Heshley said with concern, tell me, did you spend a lot of money to steal me out of that mansion? Did you spend all your money? I tell you, there is a secret compartment on my mother's bed. There are some deeds and silver bills in it, about 30,000 taels. You can use it. You are a man, you can't be without money. That secret compartment, father, don't you really know? Su Qingni asked. If Long Kato knew about it, the things inside would belong to Li Seer. Heshley said, don't worry, your father doesn't know. Except for me and my dowry nanny, no one else knows. Even if Long Kato and Li Seer bought my dowry, they would not get the money and land deeds. I'll take it when I find a chance. Su Qingni agreed. But now the bed belongs to Li Seer. Li Seer and Long Kato sleep on that bed every day, and there are servants in the house 12 hours a day. If you want to get the things in the secret compartment, you really have to find a chance. Yu Xingge, tell your mother, is the matter in the mansion your mother's funeral? Heshley closed her eyes and opened them again, and asked in a hoarse voice. Su Qingni responded softly, I put a corpse in that small courtyard, and my father and Li Seer thought that you, mother, had been burned to death. Mother, I'm sorry that you have lost your identity. It's okay. Heshley said softly, that identity doesn't matter. Chapter 455 Using Asan. Heshley said so because she was completely disappointed with both her husband's family and her own family. When she was first abused by Li Seer and Long Kato, she did ask for help from her husband's family and her own family. But what answer did she get? Her own family has declined in recent years, and its power is far less than that of the Tong family. They dare not offend the Tong family, so they naturally will not stand up for Heshley and dare not come to support Heshley. Without the support of her family, even the dowry looked down on Heshley and betrayed her. As for her husband's family, her father-in-law said that men should not take care of things in the backyard, and he didn't even see her face. How could she beg for help? As for the old Heshley, who is both her aunt and mother-in-law. Humph, her son is much more important than her daughter-in-law. For the sake of her son's happiness, she can ignore the bullying of her son and concubines to her daughter-in-law, but she hypocritically asks not to kill people. Such a mother-in-law and aunt are simply unbearable. Heshley felt that she had committed sins in her previous life to have such a family and husband. Fortunately, she still has a good son. Her son did not ignore her, but secretly accumulated strength, and when he had the strength, he would rescue her from the Devil's Cave. The Tong family was a Devil's Cave for Heshley, and the identity of the third wife of the Tong family was a nightmare for her. She now only wanted a peaceful life without any abuse, and for this, she could abandon her husband and her identity. Mother, you have to live here for a few days. When your son is free, I will send you to a safer place. Su Qingni looked at Heshley's eyelids, which had begun to fight, and helped her lie down. When she fell asleep, she locked the doors and windows and left the shop. Returning to the Tong mansion, she appeared quietly in the morning hall and pretended to be vigil. Because of Heshley's pitiful status in the Tong family, although her funeral was extremely glorious, it was just superficial, and the servants were not at all dedicated. Su Qingni had been away for such a long time, and no one had noticed. Su Qingni knelt in the morning hall, burning paper while practicing internal skills. This world is not a world of high-end martial arts, nor even a world of low-level martial arts. Unlike the previous Qing Dynasty world that Su Qingni traveled through, there were martial arts, light skills, and rivers and lakes in that world, but there is no rivers and lakes in this world, and there are no anti-Qing and restoration organizations like Xianzhihu and Honghuahu, only the White Lotus sect that likes to play tricks. In view of the actual situation of this world and the actual situation of the original body, Su Qingni chose a method to practice that made very fast progress in the early stage, but slow progress in the later stage, which limited her growth. Even if she practiced to the later stage, her strength could only be limited to the level of second-rate masters in the rivers and lakes of the previous Qing Dynasty world, but in this world, she was already a top-level existence. Su Qingni practiced a method for about half a month, and she was already able to fly over the eaves and walk on the walls, and could steal Heshley from the Tong family. When she continued to practice for another half a month, she could enter the inner courtyard of the palace. When the night watch reached dawn, a servant finally came to call Su Qingni, the eldest young master, to rest. Su Qingni took a nap, and was called up by the servants at the end of Chenxi. She ate a bowl of porridge and 2 steamed buns, and then went to the morning hall to kneel down. Next, outsiders came to burn incense and worship. Su Qingni, the filial son, had to stay in the morning hall. The status of the Tong family in the capital and Long Kado's favor in front of Master Kang made many people rush to the Tong family to burn incense. They were not here for Heshley, a woman who was not liked by her husband, but to curry favor with Long Kado. The funeral gifts sent were all the favorites of Long Kado and Li Seer. As soon as they were sent to the Tong family, they were moved to Li Seer's yard by the servants. Su Qingni watched coldly without any other expression. Everyone thought he was afraid of his father and stepmother, and sighed in their hearts that this man was ruined and useless. Some families who had the idea of marrying with the Tong family gave up the idea of marrying their daughters to using a such a cowardly and useless person. Can he protect his wife in the future? Forget it, so as not to lose a daughter and offend Long Kado's favorite Li Seer. Looking at these people who came to pay tribute, you can see how powerful Long Kado is. Almost all the officials and nobles in the capital came, first some minor officials and their families, then the families of the big officials and nobles, then the clans, and finally the princes and their wives. Because of a Kangxi, the princes all called Long Kado uncle, and Long Kado agreed in a big way, very arrogant. No wonder Yongzhang would punish him after he came to power. Even if another prince came to power, he would not let such an arrogant guy do whatever he wanted on his head. The 4th prince came earlier. The appearance of this 4th prince is quite different from that of the 4th prince in the previous Qing dynasty. The 4th prince in the previous world was beautified a lot, with long legs and handsome features. The face was awesome, a handsome guy. But the 4th prince in this world should be more like the appearance of the 4th prince in history. He is not tall, only about 1.7 meters, and looks quite ordinary. He is 60% similar to the appearance in the pictures of Yongzhang Kas handed down from later generations. The temperament of the 4th prince added a lot of points to him. He was cold and majestic without being angry, which made people feel afraid and dared not get too close. The 8th prince looked better than the 4th prince, and was taller. He looked comparable to some of the young handsome men in modern times, and his temperament was better than those young handsome men. He was gentle and elegant, and the scenery was bright and beautiful. The two parties came in batches. The fourth prince had been gone for a while, and the eighth prince came with his two good brothers. They all went to Longkado after burning incense, all to win over the popular man in front of Master Kang. The battle for the throne of the 9 dragons has begun, and the princes who have that idea have begun to secretly win over the court officials and cultivate their own power. Longkado is the target that all the princes want to win over. However, this person is very slippery, and he looks like a good uncle and nephew to every prince, but no one has won Longkado over. Longkado is still watching and has not decided who to bet on. It has to be said that although Longkado was a bit too bad and disgusting when it came to women, his other abilities and vision were still good. Otherwise, he would not have chosen the fourth prince and gained the merit of following the dragon. If he had not been too arrogant and overbearing in the end and crossed the bottom line of Yang Zhang's tolerance, he would not have fallen so quickly. Because Li Seer was unhappy, the coffin of a lady of a large family should have been kept for 49 days, but after only 7 days, Longkado had Heshli's coffin buried. Although he received countless criticisms for this, no one dared to say it in front of Longkado. Chapter 456 Using Aussie. Su Qingni did not say anything against it. The sooner the coffin was buried, the more convenient it would be for her to do things. However, in the eyes of others, all this further confirmed the view that Yuzinga was cowardly and easy to bully. As soon as Heshli's funeral was over, Li Seer drove Su Qingni from her original courtyard to the most remote courtyard of Tong Mansion, and the servants only gave her an old servant, a maid, and a servant. The old servant and the maid were originally rough workers in Tong Mansion. They were all old and dead. They could not speak or flatter people. They were very excluded by other servants. That's why they were assigned to Su Qingni's courtyard. But this just happened to be convenient for Su Qingni. It was easy to subdue the 3 servants and make them loyal to themselves. In front of the 3 servants, Su Qingni crushed a palm-sized rockery stone. The 3 servants were frightened and kowtowed desperately to promise that they would only listen to Su Qingni in the future and offered their loyalty to Su Qingni. Of course, Su Qingni would not make people completely loyal to her just by scaring them. She gave everyone a pill, saying it was poison. The 3 people took the poison. For their own lives, they would naturally not betray Su Qingni. Su Qingni's actions were more convenient. Su Qingni sent the maid Chiro to Heshli to take care of her, so that Heshli would not have to sleep for a long time. As for whether Chiro's departure would be discovered by others? Haha, what do you think? There was still some money on hand, so Su Qingni went to the pharmacy to buy some medicinal materials and made some medicines herself. Then, you can start to act. At night, Su Qingni came to the courtyard of the main house like a ghost. This was originally the residence of Heshli, but it was occupied by Li Seer. A concubine Guangnian openly occupied the main courtyard where the formal lady lived, and even occupied the dowry belonging to Heshli in the main courtyard. Su Qingni came to the window of the room. The people inside had stopped exercising every night and were lying on the bed talking. Li Seer's voice was very gentle. She was lying in Longkado's arms and acting like a spoiled child, asking Longkado when he would make her his wife. She wanted to be the legitimate wife of the Tong family, and she wanted her sons and daughters to be legitimate. Longkado was silent for a moment. Li Seer was angry and asked, "Why? You don't want me to be your wife, and you think that my lowly birth has embarrassed you?" No, I have never thought about it. Longkado was busy trying to please and comfort Li Seer, and then said distressedly and embarrassedly, "In my heart, you have long been my wife. After we die, we will be buried in the same tomb, and our children and grandchildren will also commemorate the 2 of us together." But, just what? Li Seer asked viciously. Longkado sighed. "The old man and the clan leader do not agree to my making you his wife, and even the emperor cousin will not agree." After hearing Longkado's words, Li Seer was dejected. The emperor and the clan leader of the Tong family did not agree, so even if Longkado doted on her, she could not become the official wife of the Tong family. Damn it! Is birth so important? Longkado was busy hugging Li Seer and saying all kinds of comforting words, promising her many benefits. Although Li Seer was domineering, he knew that he should stop when he was ahead, so he didn't embarrass Longkado anymore, and the 2 rolled together again. Su Qingni just felt disgusted, pried open a crack in the window, and threw a burning thing the size of a little finger in. Su Qingni counted numbers silently in her heart. 1, 2, 3. When she counted to 20, there was no movement in the house. Su Qingni opened the window and climbed into the house. The first thing she did was to pick up the things she threw into the house, extinguish them, and put them away. A lot of medicinal materials only made a little bit, so you have to cherish them before you use them. The people in the house have been sleeping like dead pigs, and no matter how much noise Su Qingni made, she couldn't wake up the people in the house. With the moonlight shining in the window, Su Qingni saw the furnishings in the house clearly. It's different, it's completely different from when Heshali lived there. Except for some large and bulky furniture, all the furnishings in the house have been replaced, and the layout has also changed a lot. Now the furnishings in the house look much more luxurious than when Heshali lived there. Li Seer didn't have the financial resources, so it must have been given to her by Long Kato. Seeing the two people twisting together on the bed, Su Qingni pulled open the quilt with disgust and covered the two people from head to toe, turning a blind eye to them. As for whether the two people would be suffocated, what does it have to do with her? In her heart, she was eager for the two people to die quickly and not get in her way, but good people don't live long, and evil will last for thousands of years. These two people have a hard life. Su Qingni didn't believe that the two of them would be suffocated to death. Su Qingni found the secret compartment in a corner of the bed according to what Heshali said, opened the secret compartment according to the correct unlocking order, and took out a stack of silver bills and land deeds from it. Looking at these land deeds, Heshali owned quite a lot of land. Unfortunately, even if there were land deeds, these lands were now occupied by Long Kato and Li Seer's people, and they couldn't be alarmed. The only useful thing is these banknotes. Well, there are 30,000 taels, not a small amount. Su Qingni restored the secret compartment and went out of the house along the long road. She did not close the window tightly. It was already autumn and it was quite cold at night. Even if she covered her whole body with a quilt, the cold air blew into the house. A quilt could not resist the cold, right? Returning to her own yard, Su Qingni put away the deed and banknotes and fell asleep. Well, I wonder if there will be a good show tomorrow. As a result, there is. The next day, Su Qingni slept until noon before getting up. Li Seer was very happy that Su Qingni was so decadent and did not seek to make progress. Long Kato did not like this son, so no one cared about Su Qingni sleeping in. Eating the breakfast that the old servant bought outside the house, Su Qingni dug a hole as high as a person in a hidden corner of her yard and installed a wooden door. In the future, she and the old servants would go in and out of the house through this small door, which was very convenient. Su Qingni listened to the news from the house that the servants had inquired about. This servant is called Liuer, a name Su Qingni specially gave him. Liuer is an honest child, but he likes to listen to gossip, and his hearing is very strong. His hearing range is more than half of that of ordinary people, and he can hear sounds that are far away. Because of this skill, many things in the mansion cannot be hidden from Liuer. Su Qingni discovered this function of Liuer and made him her intelligence chief. Now he is in charge of the news in Tong Mansion. Later, when Su Qingni leaves Tong Mansion, Liuer will be used in more places. Chapter 457 Using a Wu. From Liuer, Su Qingni learned that Long Kato and Li Seer were not suffocated to death, but unfortunately they both suffered from typhoid fever. They sent people out of the house to ask for the imperial physician early in the morning. Su Qingni was happy to hear this and ate an extra bowl of rice. After breakfast, Su Qingni left Tong's house. She put on makeup before going out, and now when she walked on the street, no one recognized her as using a. After leaving the inner city and coming to the outer city, Su Qingni went to find a dental shop with a good reputation and asked the dental shop owner to help her find a small manor outside the city. The small manor should not be too far or too close to the capital, and should not be close to the manors of nobles and officials. The price is not a problem. Although the requirements are a bit harsh, after all, most of the manors outside the capital are owned by nobles in the capital, but money can make the devil push the mill, and the dental shop owner still found a manor that meets Su Qingni's requirements. Su Qingni followed the dental shop owner to take a look, and then bought the manor, and then spent money to hire the manor owner, and the people in the manor owner built a big house. She paid a lot of wages, and did not require the house to be beautiful, as long as it was bright and solid. Therefore, the 3-story house was built in just 2 months. Su Qingni bought a few servants from the human traffickers during this period, and fed them the so-called poison to prevent them from betraying her, and then sent them to the manor to wait. 2 days later, Su Qingni sent Heshli to the manor. Mother, in the manor, you don't have to worry about being recognized by others, and you can walk around freely. Su Qingni took Heshli around the manor. This house is not 1/10 the size of Tong's mansion, and it is not as exquisite as the courtyard where she lives, but Heshli is very satisfied. This is her home, the home built by her son for her. Yes. Heshli nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. Mother, you live here, and your son can't visit you every day. But don't worry, I will come every few days. Su Qingni assured Heshli. Heshli's face was full of distress. You don't have to come so often, it's too hard. Come once a month and let mother see that you are doing well, mother will be satisfied. Su Qingni insisted on coming often. Heshli was reluctant to let him get tired. The two of them talked and finally decided that Su Qingni would come to the manor to visit Heshli twice a month. Son, mother is not on that mansion. Li Seer, that bitch, has no one to vent her anger on. She may regard you as a thorn in her side and want to harm you. You have to be careful. Heshli worriedly warned Su Qingni. Su Qingni patted the back of Heshli's hand and soothed her softly. Mother, don't worry, I will be careful. After all, I am the young master of the Tong family. The people of the Tong family will see you suffer as their daughter-in-law, but they will never let the bloodline of the Tong family be bullied by Li Seer. The Tong family still has the clan leader and Mafa. No matter how much father dislikes me, he will never kill me. But it is easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to guard against an arrow from the dark. That bitch will definitely use secret means to deal with you. Su Qingni smiled and said, my son can deal with the secret means. My son can take you out of the Tong mansion without being discovered by them. What other secret means can harm my son? They are not good enough in front of my son. Mother, you can rest assured. Although Heshli was still a little worried, she swallowed all her worries when she saw her son's confident look. Her son's methods are indeed quite powerful. He was able to do so many things under the noses of Long Kato and Li Seer without being discovered. It can be seen that her son is more powerful than these two people. I should give my son more confidence. Thinking of this, Heshli changed the subject and asked, using a, do you have a girl you like? If so, tell your Mafa and Mamu quickly and let them help you propose marriage. You are already 15 years old, not young anymore, it's time to get married. Mother, don't worry, I'm still in mourning. Su Qingni said hurriedly. Are you kidding? It's impossible for her to get married. She doesn't want Lily yet. Hearing this, Heshli sighed. What kind of thing is this? She is not dead yet, but her son still has to wear mourning. Su Qingni said, besides, no good family is willing to marry their daughter to my son in his current situation. Heshli was sad to hear that, and couldn't help cursing. It's all the fault of those two bastards, Long Kato and Li Seer. And mother, I'm sorry for you. Mother, I really don't blame you. Su Qingni hurriedly comforted her, only father and Li Seer are wrong. Don't worry, your son will definitely avenge you. Don't, you are still your father's son. If people find out that you are targeting him, they will say you are unfilial. Heshli hurriedly stopped her. Although she thought about making Long Kato and Li Seer suffer and wanted revenge, she would rather give up revenge if her son was implicated. Mother, my son won't let others find out. Just wait. Su Qingni smiled confidently at Heshli. Although she couldn't kill the two men, she had already thought of a way to deal with them. Deal with Li Seer first, and then deal with Long Kato. Li Seer is easy to deal with. She only relies on Long Kato. If Long Kato is defeated, it will be easier for Li Seer. As a favorite of Kangxi, Long Kato is powerful, has a strong family background, and is also the biological father of the original owner. It is not easy for Su Qingni to deal with him. So Su Qingni made a plan for herself. She first entered the court, showed her talents little by little, gained the emperor's attention, obtained more resources from the Tong family, climbed higher and higher in the court, and finally surpassed Long Kato, becoming a powerful official who could cover the sky with one hand, and then stepped on Long Kato fiercely. At that time, no matter how she wanted to deal with Long Kato and Li Seer, even the Tong family would not stop her. Her future is better than Long Kato's, and she can bring more benefits to the Tong family than Long Kato, so the Tong family will naturally stand on her side. Although, she doesn't want to benefit the Tong family at all. Humph, just drop a carrot in front of them. Su Qingni thought about her plan and smiled at Heshli. Mother, my son will study hard in the next few months and take part in the county and prefectural examinations next year. My son will take part in the imperial examination. By then, the 6-month mourning period had come to an end, and some things could be done. Why is it so troublesome? If you want to take part in the imperial examination, you can ask Mafa to get a quota and directly take part in the provincial examination in Shunshan Prefecture. Why do you have to go through so much trouble to take part in the county examination, prefectural examination, and academy examination? Heshali said in confusion. Mother, do you think that if I go directly to Mafa and ask him to help me get a quota, will Li Seer not know about this? Do you think she will let me get this quota smoothly? Chapter 458 Using Alu. Su Qingni bid farewell to Heshali and returned to the capital. In the following days, Su Qingni spent all her time reading and practicing. She would be able to do more things when she became stronger. However, Su Qingni did not do nothing. She controlled another servant in Tong's mansion. These servants were inconspicuous, but they could definitely play a significant role at critical moments, and it was impossible for people to connect things with these inconspicuous people. Through these servants, Su Qingni caused trouble for Li Seer several times, all by instigating the old Heshali to confront Li Seer. Su Qingni did not like the old Heshali at all. For the sake of her son, this old lady actually disregarded the life of her niece and daughter-in-law, which shows how cold her heart was. The old Heshali did not take much care of the eldest grandson of the original owner. There was always a layer between her grandson and her. Between her son and grandson, she chose her son. Therefore, the original owner did not have too deep feelings for this grandmother. However, the old lady now deeply felt the consequences of choosing her son. Every time she faced Li Seer, both of them suffered losses, but in the end it was old Heshali who lost. Her favorite son did not take her, his own mother, seriously for the sake of his concubine. He yelled and cursed at her, and scolded her so much that old Heshali fainted. Only then did old Heshali finally feel the experience of her niece and daughter-in-law. A few months have passed. Su Qingni's martial arts have become more advanced. Now she can enter and leave the palace freely as if there is no one in the world, and no one can find her. Su Qingni has already toured the palace. The layout is the same as the palace in the last Qin dynasty, but the people inside look different. Well, the people in the last Qin dynasty were all beautified versions, and the people in this world are all ordinary versions. Especially Concubinda. In the last Qin dynasty, Su Qingni had seen Concubinda and she was very beautiful. Otherwise, she would not have given birth to the 4 princes and 14 princes. She was over 50 years old and still looked as attractive as a young woman in her early 30s. The Concubinda in this world was just an ordinary middle-aged woman. Although she was well-maintained, she only looked about 5 or 6 years younger than her actual age. Master Kang was a pockmarked man as recorded in history, but there were not many pockmarks, which did not affect the overall appearance. Master Kang was estimated to be 2 or 3 centimeters shorter than the 4th prince, only about 1.6 meters tall. Therefore, if the young ladies who came to this world with the dream of Qin dynasty traveled to this world, they would be disappointed. In a blink of an eye, it was the end of the year, and every household in the capital began to prepare for the new year with joy. On the day of New Year's Eve, Su Qingni was woken up by Liu early in the morning. On this day, the Tong family would open the ancestral hall to worship their ancestors. After all, Su Qingni was a direct descendant of the Tong family and had to attend. Wearing a new set of clothes, the new clothes were sent by old Heshali. Old Heshali, who was hurt by her son, decided to win over her grandson and please him. She often sent some good things to Su Qingni a few days ago. Su Qingni accepted it, but did not change her attitude towards old Heshali. She was respectful but alienated, which disappointed old Heshali and made her realize that she could not win over her grandson. After that, no one sent anything. But now is New Year, and all the people in the Tong family have to be together when worshipping the ancestors. It would be embarrassing if the grandson was still allowed to attend the ceremony in old clothes. Su Qingni came to the outside of the Tong family ancestral hall. Some children of the Tong family had gathered outside the ancestral hall, but they were all from the collateral line. Among the direct line, only Su Qingni arrived first. Because of the awkward status, no one came forward to greet Su Qingni, and no one wanted to offend Longkado. Su Qingni didn't care. She stood quietly aside, leaning against a big tree in the yard, closing her eyes and resting. After a while, there were chaotic footsteps outside the yard, and a large group of people came. The one walking in front was the original body's grandfather Tongguaoi, and behind him was the current patriarch of the Tong family, Orende. Behind the two followed their sons and grandsons. Tuanguaoi saw Su Qingni and was about to call him over. Tuanguaoi still valued this grandson, after all, he was his eldest grandson. It's just that the child's character was too cowardly, which made him a little dislike him. Before Tuanguaoi could speak, Orende spoke first and called Su Qingni over. "What are you doing in your yard all day long? Come to my place when you have time. If anyone dares to bully you, tell your uncle and he will help you vent your anger." Orende patted Su Qingni on the shoulder and said, "Why are you so thin? Is someone treating your diet harshly? After the sacrifice, I will ask your aunt to send you some supplements so that you can replenish your body." "Thank you, uncle." Su Qingni could feel Orende's sincerity. Although Orende had a bad temper and beat people at every turn, which frightened others, the original owner was not afraid of Orende at all. Instead, he liked this uncle the most. Who asked his uncle to treat him well? "You can line up behind." Orende glanced behind him. "Don't let those women who are raised by women scare you." Su Qingni smiled and agreed. The reason why Orende was so good to the original owner was because he felt that he and the original owner had the same suffering. When Orende's father was still alive, he also doted on a concubine of humble origin. The child born by the concubine, Fahe, was the second uncle of the original body. He was very much loved by Tongguagang, the father of Orende. On the contrary, Orende was not liked by Tongguagang. Orende had a very ugly quarrel with Tongguagang because of the concubine and Fahe. Their relationship was so bad that Tongguagang even petitioned Emperor Kangxi to execute his son, which was known to the whole country. Fortunately, Tongguagang died in battle early, and the title fell on Orende. Otherwise, it is hard to say what would happen to Orende. After Orende became the head of the family, he did not recognize Fahe as his younger brother at all, and even did not allow Fahe's biological mother to be buried in the Tong family's ancestral tomb after her death. Therefore, Orende hated Li Seer and the children born by Li Seer very much, and felt very sympathetic to the original body. He felt that the original body was himself at the beginning, and took good care of the original body. In the past few years, the original body was grateful for Orende's care, otherwise how could a little child grow up safely? Su Qingni participated in ancestor worship in many worlds. The ancestor worship process in each world is similar. Maybe the Manchu's ancestor worship was a little different in the past, but after entering the past for many years, they were baptized by Han culture, and the ancestor worship process is almost the same as that of the Han people. After the ancestor worship, all the tribesmen had lunch at Orende's house, and then went back to their own homes. When Su Qingni left, he was holding a bag of supplements, which was sent by Orende's wife. Orende's wife had to prepare to go to the palace to attend the palace banquet, so she did not meet Su Qingni in person, and only asked the servants to send him things. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 459 Using a Key. Soon after returning to her own courtyard, someone brought her some supplements. It was sent by Tuanguaoi. What Orende said in the ancestral hall today was a slap in Tuanguaoi's face. Tuanguaoi was furious that his grandson had to be taken care of by his nephew from the next room. When he returned to the mansion, he got angry at old Hushli and asked the servants to prepare some supplements for Su Qingni. If he was not in a hurry to enter the palace to attend the palace banquet, Tuanguaoi would have called Longkato to teach him a lesson. In the afternoon, Su Qingni was free. She didn't have to go to the palace, nor did she have to take care of the affairs of the Tong family. She had a lot of time, so Su Qingni decided to make trouble. She sneaked into the main courtyard and entered Li Seer's room. Although Li Seer was arrogant in the Tong family, no one outside would buy her account, and she was not qualified to attend the banquet held in the palace. Li Seer was taking a nap on the bed, and a circle of maids and old women were sitting outside the room. Su Qingni pressed the sleep acupoints of several people. The force she applied was very light, which would only make people sleep for about 5 minutes, not too long. Coming to Li Seer, she pressed her sleepiness point again. Su Qingni opened her package, took out the ointment she prepared, and took out a brush, dipped it in the transparent ointment and smeared it on Li Seer's face. This is an ointment that Su Qingni accidentally made. It has no effect. The only effect is to change the color, but the color change takes a long time. It takes a brewing period of 10 hours to change the color in one go. Su Qingni didn't know what the ointment was used for until she got up early this morning and wanted to do something to have fun. Then she thought of the purpose of the ointment. She applied the makeup she imagined for Li Seer, but because the ointment was transparent, there was no change on Li Seer's face. Su Qingni put away the brush and ointment, laughed slyly, and left Li Seer's room. The ointment is very waterproof, and Li Seer will not wash off the ointment even if she washes her face after getting up. An afternoon passed, and in the evening, Su Qingni ate 2 cakes. The family will have dinner together after Tong Guoyi and Long Kato return from the palace, and stay up together. The palace banquet will end at the hour of Su, and when Tong Guoyi and others return to the Tong family, it is almost the hour of Hai. Finally, everyone is together. The servants began to serve the dishes. Su Qingni originally wanted to find a corner to sit, but Tong Guoyi called her to his side and asked her to sit next to Tong Guoyi. Su Qingni received Li Seer's sinister gaze in her son's jealous eyes. Su Qingni shrank her neck in fear like her original body. This behavior made Tong Guoyi frown. How can this child, who is so cowardly, take on the responsibility of the Tong family in the future? He looked at Li Seer's son Yazhu, who was sitting next to Long Kato, and frowned even more. This child was spoiled too much by Li Seer and Long Kato, and was simply stupid. Alice, the third generation of the Tong family, is afraid that it will be ruined, and we can only hope for great-grandsons. By the way, the eldest grandson is not young anymore, and it's time to help him find a girl from a good family. Well, after the mourning period is over, they will get married and give birth to their great-grandson as soon as possible. He will teach his great-grandson personally. Tong Guoyi had a good idea, but he didn't know that the marriages of his 2 grandsons were a big problem. Given their family's situation, most families in the capital were unwilling to marry their daughters into the Tong family. Those families who were willing were very different from the Tong family. They would sell their daughters to curry favor with the Tong family. The Tong family looked down on such a family. On the last day of the year, even if there was anger or something they didn't like, no one vented it. At most, they would say a few sour words and glare at each other secretly. The atmosphere at the whole banquet was still good. The meal took an hour. After the food was cleared away, the servants brought tea and dried fruits. The family sat in the hall and chatted to kill time. After midnight, they could go back to their rooms to sleep and rest. Just when midnight came, the woman sitting next to Li Seer suddenly screamed, attracting everyone's attention. The wife of Long Kato's younger brother King Fu had beside her husband with a face full of fear. King Fu turned his head to look at the direction where his wife ran, and screamed in fear, pulling his wife back. The direction they were facing before was exactly where Li Seer was sitting. She didn't understand what happened, and was asking, "Sixth master, sixth sister-in-law, what's wrong with you?" At this time, other members of the Tong family also saw Li Seer's face and screamed in fear. Li Seer's face, which was originally made up very delicately, had completely changed. 2 red marks appeared under her eyelids, like 2 blood marks. Her originally red lips became even redder, like blood, and there were also blood-red marks on one corner of her mouth. Just these 2 things made Li Seer look like a ghost in the yellow candlelight. What's more frightening is that there is a bloody red word on each of her cheeks, which together mean, bitch. Ghost. Some timid people were so scared that they jumped up from their seats and ran out of the hall. More people were on their way to escape. Su Qingni helped Tong Guoyi to stand up, pretending to be afraid, and wanted to take Tong Guoyi away, her eyes full of the fun of watching a play. Li Seer was confused. What happened to these people? They actually shouted ghosts at her? Li Seer hurriedly touched her face. Is there anything wrong with her face? But her face is very smooth. There is nothing wrong. She took her hands down and looked at them, and there was no dirt on her fingers. Li Seer asked Long Kato in confusion, "Third master, is there anything wrong with my face?" Then she walked towards Long Kato. "You, don't come over." Long Kato shouted. Although he really loved Li Seer's appearance was too scary, and he couldn't accept it all at once. Long Kato's attitude hurt Li Seer very much. Her eyes suddenly turned red, and she said with tears in her eyes, "Third master, are you disliking me again?" Usually when she acted like this, Long Kato would definitely come to comfort her and please her, saying all kinds of sweet words to her and promising her great benefits, but now, Long Kato retreated faster. "You, don't come over. You, Go back to your room to wash your face and put on makeup again. Li Seer was shocked. Is there really something wrong with her face? Li Seer turned to look at her son and asked the truth. Yazhu, tell me what happened to my face. This. Although Yazhu was very filial to his mother, he didn't dare to approach Li Seer now, let alone tell her what Li Seer looked like now. He just stammered, Mother, you go back to your room and look in the mirror. Li Seer's heart skipped a beat. Is she disfigured? She turned around and ran to the yard where she lived. Chapter 460 Using a. When they returned to their own courtyard, the servants guarding the courtyard saw Li Seer running over, and they all reacted the same way as the other servants, shouting ghost in fear and running away from Li Seer. Li Seer panicked even more, rushed into her room, picked up the peep show that Long Kato had bought her with a fortune, held it up to her eyes, and took a look. Snap! The mirror fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Li Seer covered her face and screamed, shrill and extremely scared, but to other people's ears, it sounded no different from the screams of ghosts. Long Kato and Yazhu, who were worried about her, did not dare to enter the house and hide outside the door. Su Qingni stood in the darkness outside the courtyard and saw the situation in the courtyard and the house clearly. She wanted to see, after experiencing such a horrifying incident, would Long Kato still treat Li Seer the same as before? If it was still the same as before, then she would admire Long Kato as a man, and she was sure that he and Li Seer were really in love. Water, bring me some water, I want to wash my face. Li Seer screamed. The servants were all trembling with fear, and no one dared to answer the door. Long Kato was so angry that he kicked the maid next to him twice and shouted, Didn't you hear the lady calling you? Hurry up and do what the lady ordered. Otherwise, I will make you suffer. Although they were afraid of the evil spirit, with the threat of Long Kato, a villain who was more vicious than the evil spirit, the maids had to tremble with fear and prepare hot water and bring it into the room to wash Li Seer's face. Li Seer rubbed the skin on her face vigorously, and the ferocity almost peeled off a layer of skin. However, the ointment prepared by Su Qingni was not so easy to wash off. Li Seer washed her skin but did not wash off the red marks and words. Now, everyone looked at her with even more fear. This must have been smeared on Li Seer by the evil spirit, so it naturally could not be washed off. Li Seer looked at the bloodstains and words that had not been washed off after washing for a long time, and she could no longer bear it. She screamed and fainted. No one dared to touch Li Seer. She hit her head on the ground with a loud noise. I guess there must be a big bump on the back of her head. Long Kato was distressed and angrily scolded the maids for not being attentive and not taking good care of the master. He forced the maids to move Li Seer to the bed. Yazhu was worried about her mother's safety and repeatedly asked people to call the imperial physician, but was stopped by Long Kato, who still had a trace of rationality. It's a joke. If the imperial physician is really called, today's incident can't be concealed. Ghosts and gods are taboos. If outsiders know about Li Seer and spread it to the palace, I can't protect Li Seer. There's ointment at home. Let the maid apply the ointment to your mother and take good care of her. The imperial physician cannot be called. What happened today cannot be spread out of the house. Long Kato showed a vicious expression on his face. I will go to gather all the servants in the house. What happened today must not be spread outside. After speaking, he strode away. Su Qingni gave Long Kato a thumbs up. It was really true love. She followed Long Kato leisurely, watching Long Kato gather the servants of the Tong mansion together, and sternly warned each servant not to tell anyone about what happened today. After that, Long Kato visited other masters in the mansion one by one, and used threats and inducements to make others shut up about what happened today. After Tongguaoi knew about it, he called Long Kato to his yard, scolded Long Kato, and asked him to get rid of Li Seer quickly. I won't. Long Kato stiffened his neck to resist his father. Li Seer is his favorite, even if he is a little scared now, he will not let this favorite go. Long Kato, Qinya is back for revenge. She is just seeking revenge on Li Seer now. If you still protect Li Seer, I'm afraid Qinya will find you. Old Hushli covered her chest and persuaded her son. Qinya is Hushli's maiden name. It is clear from what happened today that Hushli came back as a ghost to take revenge, otherwise how could the word bitch appear on Li Seer's face? It must be Hushli, there is no way around it. Old Hushli was terrified. She was worried that this niece and daughter-in-law would hate her too and come to seek revenge on her. She wanted to quickly get rid of the troublemaker Li Seer, so that Heshli's hatred would be eliminated, and she would leave the Tong family and stop causing trouble for other members of the Tong family. Humph, I wasn't afraid of her when she was a human, and now that she's a ghost, can I still be afraid of her? Long Kato bulged his eyes. In fact, he was still afraid, but at this time, in order to save Li Seer, he had to be tough. Otherwise, Li Seer would not be saved. You are confused. Tuan Guoyi pointed at Long Kato's nose, his fingers trembling. He didn't know what kind of ecstasy Li Seer had given his son to make him look like this. By the way, could this Li Seer be a fox spirit? Since ghosts have appeared, it is not surprising that there are monsters and goblins, right? Tuan Guoyi decided to go to Tanchuo Temple in a few days and ask the monks in the temple to come to his home to help them get rid of the goblins. They are father and son. Long Kato and Tuan Guoyi have the same idea. I will go to Tanchuo Temple tomorrow and ask the monks in the temple to perform a few rituals at home. In the name of praying for blessings, I will secretly ask the monks to help exorcise the ghosts. Long Kato snorted coldly, with the monks here, I wonder if the ghost dares to show up. Tuan Guoyi and the old Heshli both agreed to this idea. Tuan Guoyi also had an idea in his mind. After the monks exorcised the evil ghosts, he would ask the monks to exorcise the demons again. Early the next morning, Long Kato went out of Tanchuo Temple. Long Kato found the abbot of Tanchuo Temple and told her husband what happened last night without hiding anything. The abbot was a famous monk with high morals. He was well versed in Buddhism and was not a talkative person. Long Kato believed that the monk would not tell other people what happened in his home. When the monk heard that the Tong family was haunted, he told the truth that he could not catch ghosts. What should I do? Long Kato was worried. Should he find a Taoist priest to catch ghosts? But it is not easy to find a Taoist priest with real skills. The abbot said, I will go with you. Although I can't catch ghosts, I can use Buddhism to influence the evil ghosts and stop them from doing evil. Long Kato hurriedly invited people to the Tong mansion. There was no way. He could not find a Taoist priest who could really catch ghosts in a short time, so he could only put his hope on the abbot. The abbot came to the Tong family and did not do anything else. He just sat in front of Li Seer and recited Buddhist scriptures to Li Seer. Li Seer did not believe in Buddhism at first, and she didn't like to listen to the scriptures. But at this time, the old abbot recited the Buddhist scriptures, and she felt like she had grabbed a life-saving straw. She felt that the Buddhist scriptures were so wonderful. She listened attentively and actually listened to them. Chapter 461 Using Aju. The waterproofness of the ointment only lasts for 3 days. After 3 days, the words and red marks on Li Seer's face were washed away. The Tong family thought it was the credit of the abbot of Tanchuo Temple. They used Buddhist scriptures to convert the evil ghost, gave the abbot a very generous reward, and sent the man away. Then, Long Kato saved Li Seer on the grounds that the evil ghost had been converted by the monk. Although the Tong family was unhappy, Long Kato was a scoundrel. He was used to being domineering in the Tong family, and even Orande did not dare to be too hard on Long Kato. However, because of this incident, Li Seer restrained herself a little. She didn't believe in ghosts and gods before, but after experiencing this incident, Li Seer was also afraid. She was afraid that the ghost of Heshli would come to her for revenge again, and she dared not secretly target Su Qingni anymore. She set up a small Buddhist temple in her yard. Every morning, she would go to the temple to burn a stick of incense and recite a sutra, hoping that the Buddha would bless her. The Tong family kept the incident on New Year's Eve a secret. Except for the abbot of Tanchuo Temple, outsiders did not know about Li Seer. However, this matter could not be hidden from someone in the palace. The royal family would always arrange people to keep an eye on noble families like the Tong family. These families control great power. What if they really have ulterior motives? The royal family must be on guard. Master Kang was also shocked when he heard the news reported by the secret guards. Are there really ghosts in the world? Master Kang knew that Long Kato favored his concubine and killed his wife, but he never took it to heart, thinking that it was no big deal, and still favored Long Kato. But after hearing about this, Master Kang had a grudge in his heart. He even provoked ghosts, which showed how much Li Seer had done. Long Kato actually protected Li Seer so much? For such a lowly and vicious woman, his vision was very questionable. If he looks at women like this, what about other people and other things? Master Kang could not help but begin to question Long Kato's ability, and the ancients were afraid of ghosts. After this incident, Master Kang also began to alienate Long Kato and no longer favored Long Kato as before. He began to arrange people around Long Kato and began to divide Long Kato's power without leaving any trace. It's ridiculous that Long Kato looked down on the people around him, and was still domineering and arrogant. He thought he was the emperor's cousin and brother-in-law, with a noble status and no one could match him. He thought he was still the most favored one in the emperor's mind. He didn't see that his subordinates had been pulled over by his deputies, and he was gradually being sidelined. He also proudly enjoyed the various flattery and enticement of the princess to him. Su Qingni handled the relevant procedures for the imperial examination by herself, and participated in the county examination of the new year very low-key. The imperial examination was very simple for Su Qingni, and she passed the county examination with her eyes closed. However, in order not to expose herself too early, Su Qingni did not take the top spot in the examination, and the same was true for the prefectural examination. She had to take the 10th place in every examination, not to show off. After passing the academy exam, Su Qingni will become a scholar. With the fame, the Tong family could not be unaware of it. Since she could no longer hide it, Su Qingni took the exam and won the top spot. The good news was delivered to the Tong mansion by the official. The gatekeeper of the Tong mansion thought that the official had sent it to the wrong place, and confirmed with the official several times before confirming. Their eldest son went to take the imperial examination, and not only passed the exam as a scholar, but also got the top spot. This is big news. The gatekeeper hurried to report to Tong Guowei. Tong Guowei was stunned when he heard the news, and then he was ecstatic. He originally thought that 3 generations of descendants in his family were ruined, but he didn't expect that he had also made a mistake. Yu Xingge had his own gullies in his heart, and he chose a bright road for himself. Good boy, he really knows how to endure. He is so talented but he doesn't expose it. He will come forward when Li Seer gets into trouble. This patience, this ability to grasp the opportunity. He is worthy of being a descendant of the Tong family. Tuan Guowei laughed out loud, and quickly had someone seal a big red envelope for the official who came to report the good news, and ordered to give a monthly reward to each servant in the mansion. The servants were very happy to receive the reward, and their original contempt for Yu Xingge immediately disappeared. Their attitude changed 180 degrees, and they all praised their eldest master for his ability. Was the eldest master so good at studying in the past? He was able to pass the examination to become a scholar? Did he bribe the examiner? Some servants on Li Seer's side couldn't bear to see Yu Xingge's glory, and said bad things about Yu Xingge. Someone chuckled and said, maybe the eldest master was hiding his incompetence in the past? Or maybe it was the eldest lady who blessed the eldest master to pass the examination to become a scholar. Hearing the 3 words eldest lady, everyone couldn't help but think of what happened on New Year's Eve. Li Seer's people didn't dare to say anything. They were worried that the eldest lady would come to trouble them. They didn't have the face to ask the abbot of Tanshuo Temple to chant sutras for them to save the ghosts. Long Kato was called back home by Tong Guowei. He was very impatient when he heard that his eldest son had passed the imperial examination. He was called back for such a small matter? He was originally going to go to drink wine with the 9th prince. Long Kato snorted, it's okay if he passes the exam. What's the big deal? Our family is such a good family that we can become an official even if we don't take the imperial examination. It's just that Yu Xingge is a petty person who doesn't have the bearing of the duke's mansion, so he went to compete with a bunch of poor scholars for opportunities. After saying that, he threw his sleeves and went back to the main courtyard to find his beloved concubine. Tong Guowei was so angry with his son that he decided not to tell his son about his grandson in the future. He would give all the resources and connections of the Tong family to his grandson instead of to his son. With his son's character, he is already so arrogant now. If all the trump cards of the Tong family are given to him, I'm afraid he will be even more arrogant and do whatever he wants. Who knows if the Tong family will be led into the abyss by him. Thinking of this, the old man couldn't help but sigh. In the past, he valued this son because he was his only legitimate son and his ability was indeed the best among his brothers. Although he knew that he had character flaws, he had no other choice. But now that he has a grandson, there is one more choice. He can look more at his son and choose a better person to lead the family. Long Kato didn't know that his father had already removed him from the stable position of heir to the head of the family. He didn't get drunk and was about to find his beloved concubine to make up for it, but the concubine pulled him aside and complained bitterly, asking him to stop Yu Xingge from taking the imperial examination. Li Seer was determined not to let Yu Xingge succeed. If Yu Xingge was excellent, wouldn't that make her son look useless? Long Kato agreed repeatedly, thinking that it would not be easy to stop Yu Xingge from taking the exam. He just needed to give an order. In the past, he might have really stopped Yu Xingge by giving such an order, but now. Chapter 462 Yu Xingge. Not to mention that Tong Guoyi now attaches great importance to his grandson and wants to escort him. Long Kato's order conflicts with Tong Guoyi's order. Even the one in the Forbidden City who knew that Su Qingni had passed the imperial examination became interested in Su Qingni and wanted to see how far this child who was ignored by his father and bullied by his stepmother could go. He secretly ordered people to escort the child. He also thought that Long Kato would suppress his son because of his concubine. With two big men escorting him, Su Qingni successfully participated in the provincial examination and won the top spot again, becoming the first in the imperial examination. Tong Guoyi was very happy. Except for Long Kato, Li Seer and Li Seer's children, everyone else in the Tong family was very happy. Orande opened a special ancestral hall to worship his ancestors. Long Kato was unhappy. He didn't expect that he had ordered people to stop using A, but Yu Xingge could still participate in the imperial examination and do well in the exam. It must be the old man who was secretly helping using A. Long Kato snorted coldly and arranged another series of orders. Although he didn't have the old man's connections, he was very clear about the old man's methods and knew how to avoid the old man's men to deal with using A. And his men did avoid Tong Guoyi's men and were about to attack Su Qingni, but they were stopped by another group of people. Long Kato himself was also warned. Why can Yu Xingge still participate in the imperial examination? Didn't you say that he absolutely cannot participate? Li Seer pulled Long Kato's collar and roared, showing her shrewish spirit, which made people feel vulgar, but she was Long Kato's favorite. He thought that such a vulgar Li Seer was more spicy and more flavorful. I don't want to either. Long Kato hugged Li Seer and said helplessly. The Emperor intervened. The Emperor wants to protect using A. I can't touch Yu Xingge anymore. What? Li Seer screamed. How could the Emperor protect using A? Long Kato sighed. The Emperor has taken a fancy to Yu Xingge and thinks he is a talent and wants to protect him. Seer, don't take action against Yu Xingge again in the future. Since the Emperor values Yu Xingge, if we take action again, I can still say it, but you. I'm afraid I can't protect you either. Li Seer was so angry that his face turned red, and his heart, liver, spleen and lungs were all aching. Why? Why can Yu Xingge be valued by the Emperor? Why can't his own son be valued by the Emperor? Just because Yu Xingge can study, can he pass the imperial examination and become an official? Then I will let Yuzhu study hard and take the imperial examination later. Why is the Emperor so short-sighted? Li Seer complained. Long Kato quickly covered Li Seer's mouth. Don't say that. Li Seer pulled down his hand and snorted. When did you become so timid? Aren't you fearless? Long Kato chuckled twice. Who said I'm fearless? Am I not very afraid of you? Dead face. The next topic turned to the romantic side. In the imperial examination, Su Qingni was at the top again. She had already won 2 yuan. If she won the top prize again, she would have won 3 prizes. And just for the auspicious omen brought by this title, the Emperor would also give Su Qingni the title of top prize. Su Qingni turned over a new leaf, and the people who looked down on him before became busy. They invited Tong Guoyi and Old Heshli to a banquet, wanting to marry their daughters' granddaughters to Su Qingni. Su Qingni would definitely not marry a woman. She had planned to bribe the Imperial Observatory and several monks and Taoists, saying that she should not marry early and could not marry before the age of 30. As for after the age of 30, she would have been in power by then, so who could control her marriage? As a result, before she could make a move, the girls who had proposed to her helped him solve the problem themselves. How did they solve it? 2 of the girls had an accident on the street and fell on the 4th prince. Well, they had such close contact with a foreign man, and for the sake of reputation, they had to marry into the 4th prince's mansion. Another girl fell into the lake in the palace. The 4th prince happened to pass by and asked someone to rescue the girl. Although there was no physical contact, the girl's clothes were relatively thin, and they stuck to his body wetly, revealing her entire figure. The 4th prince saw everyone, so he has to take responsibility, right? In addition to the 3 who entered the backyard of the 4th prince's mansion, There was another girl who met the 13th prince and wanted to marry him desperately. One girl was from Guoluoluo's family. She was invited to the mansion by the 8th lady to play, but somehow she was calculated by others and was sent to the 8th prince's bed. Another girl wanted to enter the prince's mansion and become the future imperial concubine. Several girls who were discussing marriages had accidents and went to the prince. Tuanguaoi didn't know what to say. Nima, is your grandson fighting against the prince? All the women you like have become the prince's women. Those princes are enough. There is no shortage of women in their backyards, but your grandson doesn't even have one. Why do you compete with your grandson for women? However, since those women would rather be princesses for the princes than be the wives of their grandsons, it can be seen that they are short-sighted and don't want them. But what about your grandson? Su Qingni quickly took action and let Tuanguaoi know from a monk that his grandson could not get married early. Although Tuanguaoi was unhappy about this, he still postponed the action of finding a wife for Su Qingni. Su Qingni originally thought that this world was an ordinary parallel world of the Qin dynasty. After all, the princes here are not handsome men. But unexpectedly, even if the princes are not handsome, there are still Qin dynasty women swarming to be girlfriends of the princes. Although most of them came for the winner, the 4th prince, there are also women who came for the big loser, the 8th prince. This is true love. Does she think that with her ability, she can help the 8th prince turn the tables and let the 8th prince get the throne? Or can she make the 8th prince love only beauty and not the country, give up the throne, and live in seclusion with her? Su Qingni is very happy. Today's life is too dull, and there is no point in tossing Lysier. Instead, these Qin dynasty women can bring a lot of fun to herself. These time-traveling girls are quite noisy. It has only been a short time since the capital city has seen the emergence of shops specializing in glass products, beauty salons, cosmetics and soap shops, flower and plant shops, and fruit shops. Well, the owners of these two shops must have a plug-in like the Linquan Space, using the Linquan water to grow flowers and fruits. It is not too common to travel through time in the Qin dynasty. Su Qingni has been looking forward to the appearance of cement, rubber, potatoes, sweet potatoes and other things that are beneficial to people's livelihood. Unfortunately, these time-traveling girls are so focused on making money and helping their men that they have forgotten these most important things. Chapter 463 Using a Shiai. One of the time-traveling girls should be studying history, and she has a very clear understanding of the history of this period. The other time-traveling girls only know that Yuzinga is the son of Longkato's unlucky first wife, but they don't know what Yuzinga did during the reign of Emperor Kangxi, and they don't know whether Yuzinga has taken the imperial examination. But the time-traveling girl who studies history knows very well, and she clearly knows that Yuzinga has not taken the imperial examination. Therefore, she suspects that Yuzinga is also a time-traveling girl, and she also finds Su Qingni and wants to form an alliance with Su Qingni. Su Qingni laughed. What she is working hard in the backyard of the 4th prince, and Yuzinga is working hard in the court. It is a win-win situation for the two to connect the front and back. She helps Yuzinga to gain favor in front of the 4th prince, ensuring that Yuzinga will rise to a high position and receive a high salary in the court, while Yuzinga will help her son and support his son to get the throne. In response, Su Qingni stretched out a finger. This ambitious time-traveling girl was not sent to the underworld. The original owner of the body has already left, and if the time-traveling girl is thrown into the underworld, wouldn't she die in front of him? How would he explain to the woman's family and the 4th prince? Su Qingni simply pressed the woman's acupuncture points and used the soul transferring technique in the 9 yin manual to erase the woman's memories of the modern era, leaving only the memories of the original owner of the body. From then on, the woman was an authentic native. Without modern memories and historical knowledge, how would she advise the 4th prince to avoid danger? How would she fight with the other women in the 4th prince's backyard? None of this had anything to do with Su Qingni. Su Qingni took part in the palace examination and became the top scholar. A top scholar who passed the imperial examination 3 times only appears once every many years, which is much more precious than the top scholars who appeared once every 4 years in the past. Kangxi valued Su Qingni, the top scholar, very much. He was the first among the Manchus to win the top scholar award, and he was also his own descendant. He brought honor to the Manchus for him, the emperor's elder. Although Su Qingni entered the Hanlin Academy according to the old rules, Kangxi gave her the privilege to walk in front of the emperor. He would talk to Su Qingni every day and chat with her, and put the favor of Longkato on Su Qingni. Su Qingni simply told Kangxi about the potatoes and sweet potatoes. Now there are so many time-traveling women in the capital, and they said to the outside world that they heard about these high-yield crops from a woman, so that these time-traveling women would doubt each other. Kangxi heard that potatoes and sweet potatoes are very productive, and he didn't believe it, but he always attached great importance to grain. He immediately stopped sending people to Fujian and other places to look for sweet potatoes and potatoes. Su Qingni used the excuse that she heard from the time-traveling woman to compile a scientific data process for planting sweet potatoes and presented it to Kangxi. Kangxi asked the people in the imperial farm to open up experimental fields and plant the grain seeds just found from Fujian according to the process given by Su Qingni. The results are remarkable. During the harvest of this year, the yield of potatoes per mu reached 1,500 kilograms, and the yield of sweet potatoes reached 1,000 kilograms. Kangxi was stunned when he heard these two numbers, and immediately took people to the imperial farm to watch the farmers harvest potatoes and sweet potatoes. From the first potato unearthed to the last one, and then to the weighing scale, Kangxi watched without blinking. The final result made Kangxi ecstatic. After returning to the palace, he called the 4th and 8th princes to the palace and asked them to be responsible for promoting high-yield grain varieties. After hearing that Su Qingni told Kangxi about the grain varieties, the two regretted it a little. Because they were interested in Long Kado's position as the governor of the 9 gates, they all competed to win over Long Kado, and they didn't care about people that Long Kado didn't like. But who would have thought that Yu Xingge was so outstanding that he not only passed the exam as the top scholar, but also allowed the court to have high-yield grain varieties. Yu Xingge's future is limitless, and it must be better than his own father. If they had known earlier, they would have won over Yu Xingge from the beginning. Would it be too late to win him over now? Especially since this person is still under the nose of the emperor, it is even more difficult to win him over. The two buddies regretted it unanimously. Kangxi could not see the regret of the two brothers, and he excitedly issued a second decree. As a result, Su Qingni was promoted, and her official position jumped 3 levels directly, from the 6th rank Hanlin Academy editor to the 5th rank Hanlin Academy lecturer, and she still walked in front of the emperor. She also had a title, Jiak Sun Hao, in recognition of his contribution to farming. The title of the Marquess is naturally not as good as the title of the Duke, but Long Kado is not a Duke yet, but the Duke's son, and the title of the Duke's son is not higher than that of the Marquess. Haha, the father and son entered the palace together to attend the palace banquet. According to their status, the son had to sit in front of his father. How could Long Kado accept this setting? He immediately smashed the inkstone and tea bowl, and rushed into Su Qingni's yard with people to settle accounts with Su Qingni, wanting to give this son who was out of his control a good beating. He wanted to teach Su Qingni a lesson and let her know that she was Long Kado's son, and Long Kado could do whatever he wanted to her. Don't think that you can stand on his head just because you have grown wings. Humph, he won't allow it. Su Qingni looked at Long Kado entering the door, with a sarcastic smile on her lips. It was obvious that she was instigated. Otherwise, with Long Kado's usual agility, he would not come to settle accounts with him so soon. Even if he wanted to teach him a lesson, Long Kado would wait for a while. Otherwise, Long Kado came to the door just after he received the order. Doesn't this show that Long Kado is dissatisfied with Kangxi's order? You bastard. Long Kado saw the sneer on Su Qingni's mouth, and became even angrier, and slapped him directly. Su Qingni easily avoided Long Kado's slap, which surprised Long Kado. He has been practicing martial arts since he was a child, and his skills are good, otherwise he would not have been appointed as the 9 Gates Admiral by Kangxi. The 9 Gate Admiral is a military commander. If he is not good at riding and archery, how can he lead the troops? Although Long Kado has been used to enjoying himself over the years and his skills are not as flexible as when he was young, he thinks he is worse than most people. Yu Xingge has never practiced martial arts since he was a child, so he should not be able to avoid his slap. But now he has dodged. Long Kado's eyes deepened. He has an amazing son. He is so good at forbearance and disguise. He is obviously both civil and military, but he has to pretend to be a waste, just waiting for the opportunity to make a splash. Awesome. Strong enough. He couldn't help but give this son 2 thumbs up. As long as such a person does not die halfway, he will go very far in the future. He couldn't help but feel fortunate that this person was his son, because of the father-son relationship. Although the little bastard was not satisfied with him, he would not hurt him, are you sure? It would be terrible if the little bastard was his political enemy. Chapter 464 Using a 12. Thinking of this, Long Kato no longer had the intention to teach his son a lesson. Although the relationship between father and son could not be eased, it could not deteriorate any further. Long Kato snorted coldly, flicked his sleeves, turned around and left, leaving the servants who followed him stunned. Does this mean you don't want to teach the eldest young master a lesson? They are still rubbing their hands, thinking about venting their anger on Master Li and the second young master. Why did the third master give up? No, Master Li promised them that if anyone could hurt the eldest young master, Master Li would give them a heavy reward. But if the third master doesn't do it, how can they secretly make a move? The reward is about to fly away. Third master, are you going to let the eldest young master go so easily? A lackey came up to Long Kato and began to instigate Long Kato. The eldest young master didn't even salute you when he saw you just now, which shows that he doesn't even have you as a father in his heart. Hearing this, Long Kato's eyes narrowed dangerously. The lackey was delighted and was about to say some more provocative words, when he suddenly heard Long Kato say, "Come here, drag Gusan away, give him 30 strokes of the cane, and send him to the farm." Gusan was stunned, and so were the others, thinking they had misheard Long Kato's order. Long Kato snorted coldly, "What? My order is no longer effective." Everyone reacted, and 2 servants came up and quickly dragged Gusan away. Gusan was unbelievable, and loudly begged for mercy from Long Kato, but he didn't understand how he had offended the third master. When Long Kato returned to the main courtyard, Li Seer had already received the news and was furious. Long Kato didn't teach Yu Xingge a lesson, but even moved his confidant. What does he want to do? Want to rebel? As soon as Long Kato entered the door, a tea bowl was smashed on his head. Long Kato quickly dodged by tilting his head, walked forward and hugged Li Seer. "Good Seer, don't be angry, listen to me, I also have my own difficulties." Li Seer snorted, "What are your difficulties? You are reluctant to teach your good son a lesson, right?" Long Kato said helplessly, "I can't teach him a lesson now." Li Seer snorted, "He is your son, so what if he is a Marcus now? It is natural for me to teach my son a lesson. Does he dare to resist?" Long Kato's face became solemn. He can't resist openly, but what about secretly? This time he directly offered grain to the emperor and became a Marquis, and the other people in the Tong family and I didn't know. It can be seen that he is now fully grown and can't be controlled by me and the Tong family. Now I can still rely on my status as a laborer to suppress him a little. If we really fall out with him, with this kid's methods, we will not be able to eat well. I can still say it, but I'm afraid that he will target you and Yazhu. If I make a mistake, I'm afraid I can't protect you. Li Seer's face turned pale. Is Yu Xingge really as powerful as you said? Long Kato felt very upset. He did not expect his son to be as outstanding as he is now, and he could not be proud at all. This kid is not an ordinary person. It would be very scary to be his enemy. Long Kato gave an objective evaluation of his eldest son. Li Seer's face became even paler. Yu Xingge is Long Kato's son, and Long Kato does not consider him as an enemy. But Yu Xingge's mother and Li Seer are enemies, and Li Seer is Yu Xingge's enemy. Yu Xingge will not deal with Long Kato, but will definitely deal with her, the enemy who killed her mother. No. You can't sit and wait for death, you have to strike first. Li Seer gritted his teeth and made a decision. The most appropriate way Li Seer thought of was to drug Su Qingni. However, Su Qingni was not in the mansion most of the time, and rarely ate the food cooked by the big kitchen in the mansion. Li Seer could not put the drug in the food. She wanted to bribe the servants around Su Qingni and wanted the servants to put drugs in Su Qingni's tea. Unfortunately, the servants around Su Qingni had all eaten poison. For the sake of their own lives, they would never betray Su Qingni. This led to no progress in Li Seer's drugging plan. Li Seer was very anxious because of this. He couldn't eat or sleep well every day, and there were a few more wrinkles on his face. Li Seer hated Yu Xingge so much that he had to kill Yu Xingge. If she couldn't find an opportunity, she would create an opportunity and must drug Yu Xingge successfully. Su Qingni knew Li Seer's idea and saw that she had white hair on her head. She was very kind and decided to fulfill Li Seer and give her a chance. On this day, Su Qingni asked someone to send back several baskets of fresh crabs to Tong Mansion. Li Seer's eyes lit up and proposed to hold a chrysanthemum banquet for the whole mansion, enjoying chrysanthemums while eating crabs. Long Kato did not refuse her request, and personally came forward to help Li Seer organize the chrysanthemum banquet and help her personally invite other people from the Tong family. Su Qingni received a message from Long Kato, ordering her to attend the chrysanthemum banquet. Su Qingni agreed with a smile. The weather was bright and crisp in autumn, and the crabs were plump. It was a great pleasure to enjoy a garden of chrysanthemums, eat delicious crabs, and drink a little wine. Su Qingni sat at the head of the younger generation. Yazhu sat a little far away from him, but the distance could not separate his jealous and resentful eyes. The original body did not have much hatred for this younger brother. Su Qingni just regarded this boy as a spoiled brat and did not care about him at all. And it was this kind of indifference that made Yazhu feel even more uncomfortable and felt looked down upon. Watching the boy turn his grief and anger into appetite, he kept eating crabs. Su Qingni smiled slightly. She would not kindly remind the boy that crabs are cold in nature and eating too much will cause stomach upset. It is also good to have a stomach upset and clear the stomach. Oh, a cry sounded in Su Qingni's ears, and then a body fell towards Su Qingni. Su Qingni saw with her sharp eyes that the owner of the body was a very beautiful maid. Not only was her face beautiful, but her figure was also graceful. The posture she fell down was also so beautiful. The panicked and pitiful expression on her face was very pitiful. If other people saw this scene, they would definitely open their arms to catch this beautiful woman who threw herself into his arms, but Su Qingni, she suddenly stood up and jumped 2 steps to the side, making room for the beautiful woman to fall down. With a bang, the beautiful woman fell to the place where Su Qingni had just sat, face down, and fell on the table with dishes and dishes. Ah! The beautiful woman screamed and raised her head. Oh my, how pitiful! The originally smooth forehead was scratched by the smashed dishes, and blood flowed out. The beautiful face was covered with oil and vegetable stains, as if a sauce shop was opened, and the original color could not be seen. The most ridiculous thing was that a green onion was inserted into the nostrils of the beautiful woman. Puchy. Many people laughed when they saw the image of the beautiful woman. However, the face of someone at the table turned black. Orande shouted, "Come here, take her away." Chapter 465 Using a Shizun. Su Qingni originally thought that this woman was arranged by old Heshli to seduce her. Ever since Su Qingni became successful, old Heshli has been trying to win her over, and her way of winning Su Qingni over was to send women to her. Su Qingni refused all of them. Su Qingni thought that this time old Heshli was unwilling to give up, and deliberately chose a very beautiful woman to seduce her. But looking at Orande's reaction, it seemed that things were not what she imagined. This woman was not arranged by old Heshli. Su Qingni walked directly to Orande and asked, "Uncle, do you know that woman?" Orande said with a dark face, "It's a Yongzhou skinny horse given to me by others, a low-class thing. So it's my uncle's." Su Qingni narrowed her eyes. "I think someone wants to use such a thing to alienate the relationship between us uncle and nephew." Although Orande has a bad temper, he is not a stupid person, and Yu Xingge is his beloved nephew. Even if Yu Xingge really enjoyed this beauty, he would not say anything. After all, women are just toys. He was angry that the woman dared to slap him in the face like this and seduce his nephew in front of so many people in the Tong family. Did he fail to satisfy her? Orande, uncle understands. Those people used a skinny horse to try to sow discord between us. They are too low class. Su Qingni said, "This woman was able to run from uncle's house to ours, and she was dressed as a maid, and she could easily get close to the master. Someone must have helped her." Orande nodded, "I will clean up the people in the house after I return to the house. Your house will rely on uncle." Tuanguai on the side also had a dark face. The skinny horse incident was not a big deal, but it was too disgusting. "Well, leave this house to me. It seems that they are too lenient to the servants, and all kinds of monsters and demons have come out." The chrysanthemum banquet ended hastily because of the skinny horse incident. Li Seer was not unhappy. Her arrangements were all used, and the medicine had been given to using a. Just wait for good news. Su Qingni chuckled, "It's just an ordinary poison. I can detoxify it with just a flick of my finger. I am in a good mood today. I will play with you and make you happy for a few days. I will make you cry in a few days." The woman was taken away by Orande. 2 days later, Su Qingni was called by Orande to listen to him talking about the woman. This woman was actually a spy sent to Orande by someone else to help find out the news about the Tong family. Orande did not say who the woman's master was, but Su Qingni guessed who was behind it by looking at Orande's expression. Who else could it be? It was either the 9th prince or the 8th prince. Oronde is a firm supporter of the 8th prince. The 8th prince actually had spies around him, obviously not trusting Oronde, which hit Oronde very hard. When talking to Su Qingni, the whole person was unhappy. The channel through which the Shaman master contacted him should have been discovered by others, so they pretended to be Shaman's master to contact him and let him seduce Yuzinga. This move was too rough, and the purpose was not to target Yuzinga and Oronde and destroy the relationship between the two, but to instigate the relationship between Oronde and the 8th prince. This move was considered successful. At least Oronde had a grudge against the 8th and 9th princes in his heart, and would not trust the 8th prince wholeheartedly as before. However, because Yuzinga was not seduced by the thin horse, he did not have a conflict with Oronde because of the thin horse as the owner of the thin horse expected, but asked Oronde to check the people in the mansion as soon as possible, so that the tale was not cleaned up, and Oronde found clues and knew who the person behind was. The person behind originally wanted to win over Oronde, but was disgusted by Oronde, so he would never win over Oronde again. After Su Qingni left Oronde, she went to see Tongguaoi. Tongguaoi has been vigorous and resolute these days, and has dealt with a group of servants. From Tongguaoi, Su Qingni knew who the person behind the scenes was who was calculating him, Oronde and the 8th prince. It was not the 4th prince, he was busy communicating with the Qing women now, and had no intention of calculating the 8th prince and the Tong family. It's not the eldest prince and the crown prince. Both of them are in a bad situation now and have no intention of calculating others. The main messenger is the 3rd prince. From Tongguaoi, Su Qingni learned that the 3rd prince also raised a group of Yongzhou skinny horses, and his power in Jiangnan is not much smaller than that of the 8th prince's party. There are many literati in Jiangnan, and many of them are the subordinates of the 3rd prince. Su Qingni remembered that she had met the 3rd prince several times after entering the Hanlin Academy. The 3rd prince wanted her to join him openly and secretly, but she refused. The 3rd prince must be annoyed with her, so he used such a despicable method to disgust her. The next day, when Su Qingni entered the palace, she chatted with Kangxi and talked about the Yongle Encyclopedia. Kangxi sighed at this. The Yongle Encyclopedia is the first encyclopedic collection of documents in Chinese history. It brings together 7,000 or 8,000 books from ancient and modern times, covering the knowledge wealth of the Chinese nation for thousands of years. It is a classic among classics. Who among all scholars doesn't want to read the Yongle Encyclopedia? Unfortunately, the Yongle Encyclopedia suffered a great catastrophe, and most of it was destroyed in fires and wars. Even Kangxi did not have a complete Yongle Encyclopedia. This made Kangxi, who loved reading, very regretful. Su Qingni chuckled, since Emperor Chengzu of the Ming dynasty was able to gather people to compile the Yongle Encyclopedia, Your Majesty, as an emperor of all ages, can naturally compile another encyclopedia that is better and more complete than the Yongle Encyclopedia. Master Kang's heart moved. Su Qingni continued, I have thought of a name for the encyclopedia, called Sikuquanshu. What do you think, Your Majesty? I'm sorry, Emperor Qianlong, for transferring your credit to your grandfather. But you to our family, and the credit belongs to your Azanjiro family. Su Qingni took out a letter from his sleeve. This is the structure of the book I thought of. This structure is completely copied from the Sikuquanshu, very complete, and there is no place to change. Master Kang flipped through the contents of the letter, his eyes burning, and it was obvious that his heart was abnormal. Not bad. Master Kang smiled and said, the complete library and 4 branches of literature? What a good name. This tone indicated that he agreed to compile the complete library and 4 branches of literature. Su Qingni said hurriedly, the work of compiling the complete library and 4 branches of literature needs a person of noble status. Otherwise, he can't control the people who compile the books. Master Kang nodded, the 3rd prince likes reading, so let him take charge of this matter. Su Qingni said, the 3rd prince is also in charge of compiling the Kangxi dictionary. Master Kang, let him supervise it. In the future, all the work of compiling the book will be handed over to him, and the affairs of the court can be assigned to others. Your Majesty is wise. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466 Using a 14. Your Majesty is wise. Su Qingni smiled and praised Kangxi. This is a good move. The third prince was deprived of all his affairs in the court. How could he participate in the fight for the throne when he was away from the court? Haha, you disgust me. I will let you revise books for the rest of your life and make you completely out of the position. Just like that, the third prince was sent by Master Kang to revise books. Most of his civil officials were also sent by Master Kang, and the third prince was almost completely out of the court. The third prince was naturally unwilling, but the emperor had spoken. What could he do? Moreover, revising books is a matter that will make people famous for generations. His subordinates are eager to participate in this work and have long forgotten about helping him fight for the throne. Without the help of his subordinates, how can the third prince fight for the throne? After dealing with the third prince, Su Qingni turned her attention back to Li Seer. The incident of the skinny horse happened at the chrysanthemum banquet, and everyone in the Tong family focused their attention on the skinny horse, but Su Qingni did not forget that Li Seer held the chrysanthemum banquet just to deal with him. Li Seer also succeeded. Her people successfully put the drug into Su Qingni's teacup, and she saw Su Qingni drink the tea into her stomach with her own eyes. Li Seer happily waited for news at home. Because she hated Su Qingni deeply, she did not use those chronic poisons that weaken people this time. She wished that Su Qingni would disappear in front of her immediately, and she gave Su Qingni a deadly poison. However, after many days, Li Seer did not wait for the news of Su Qingni's sudden death. She couldn't help but suspect that her subordinates had deceived her and did not successfully drug Su Qingni. Li Seer was so angry that she beat the servant who drugged her severely and sold him to the mountain cave to dig coal. She thought about finding another opportunity to drug Su Qingni. But Su Qingni's revenge has come. Doesn't Li Seer like to drug? Then she will feel the taste of being drugged more. Su Qingni did not give Li Seer a fatal poison. It would be too easy for Li Seer to poison her to death. She still wanted to have fun with Li Seer. Su Qingni would refine medicine when she was free. In this ordinary world, she also refined some medicines with magical effects. Well, the effects were just interesting, not immortality or cleansing the meridians and marrow. Su Qingni found a medicine from it and put it on Li Seer. In the early morning, Long Kado woke up from his sleep and opened his eyes. What entered his eyes was the face of his beloved woman. Because the two were very close, the woman's face looked relatively large in front of him, allowing him to clearly see every detail of the woman's face. Well, Seer's facial features are really good, and they look better when combined together. This is her favorite look. Well, Seer is really well maintained, and her skin is still so smooth. Alice, time is not forgiving, and there are wrinkles on Seer's face, although they look light. Huh? What is this? Long Kado's eyes fell on the bottom of Li Seer's nose and chin. What are those blue dots? Why do they look so familiar? Long Kado raised his hand and rubbed his eyes. He was not mistaken. The blue dots were still there. They look so familiar. Aren't they just stubble? He has a lot of them on his face. But how could they appear on Seer's face? Long Kado sat up suddenly. His movement was too big and woke up Li Seer. Li Seer opened his eyes unhappily and complained, "What are you doing? You woke me up." Halfway through the words, Li Seer's voice was stuck. Li Seer also sat up in horror and touched her chin with both hands. My voice. Li Seer just said a few words and closed her mouth again, extremely shocked. How could her soft and beautiful voice become so rough and unpleasant? And it didn't sound like a woman's voice, but like a man's. Long Kado stared at Li Seer, and the horror on his face was even more than Li Seer's. Li Seer didn't know that he had stubble, but Long Kado saw it with his own eyes. The voice became a male voice, and there was a stubble on the chin. Did Li Seer become a man? A woman turned into a man? It's incredible. Could it be that this was done by ghosts again? Seer, quickly put on your clothes. I'll take you to Tanchuo Temple to find the abbot. Long Kado swallowed his saliva and said, "If there's a problem with your throat, shouldn't you ask the imperial physician? How to go to the temple?" Li Seer suddenly thought of what happened on New Year's Eve a few years ago. It was thanks to the abbot of Tanchuo Temple chanting sutras for her to transcend the ghosts that she got better. Could it be that something appeared on her face again? "Mirror. Give me a mirror." Li Seer shouted, and her rough voice scared the servants in the room. The servants hurriedly held up a mirror for Li Seer. Li Seer looked in the mirror and saw no bloodstains or bloody words. Fortunately, it was okay. She just breathed a sigh of relief, and her eyes caught a blue spots under her nose and on her chin. As someone who often takes care of Long Kato's face, she immediately recognized what those blue spots were. With a rough voice and these stubbles, has she become a man? Li Seer hurriedly touched down. Fortunately, what should be there is still there, and what shouldn't be there is not. However, the touch is a little wrong, it seems to be a circle smaller. If she continues to go down, then her proud figure will be gone? Then won't she really become a man? No, she doesn't have the thing below a man, so she is not a man. What is it? It's a eunuch. I'm going to become a eunuch. How can Li Seer accept it? She burst into tears. Long Kato hurriedly hugged her and comforted her. Don't be afraid, we will go to Tanchuo Temple and find the abbot to help you drive away the evil spirits. Li Seer nodded vigorously. She and Long Kato thought of the same thing, thinking that it was the evil spirit that made Li Seer like this. Li Seer thought more. You know, she poisoned using A. Was it because she had angered Hushli? Did Hushli come to settle accounts with her again? Why was she so obsessed with wanting to kill using A? She had already been retaliated by the evil ghost once, how could she forget it? If she had known that the evil ghost would return to the human world, she would never have harmed using A. She regretted it so much. She would definitely confess her wrongdoings in front of the Buddha, hoping that the evil ghost would let her go. Although she wanted to harm others, didn't she fail? Isn't Yu Xingge still alive and well? If she burned more paper, the evil ghost should be able to let her go, right? Thinking of this, Li Seer changed her clothes very quickly, and urged Long Kato to go out without even having breakfast. The Tong family was full of doubts. What kind of tricks did Li Seer have again? Chapter 467 Using of 15. The abbot of Tanchuo Temple read scriptures to Li Seer for half a month, but it was useless. Not only did Li Seer not recover at all, but his appearance became more and more masculine. Not only did he grow a beard, his facial features became tough, his chest shrunk and became flat. Except for not growing the two tails of meat that a man should have, Li Seer's appearance now is really no different from a man. Facing such a Li Seer, Long Kato couldn't do it even if he loved her. The abbot of Tanchuo Temple said that there was no way. It should be that Li Shizu did something to anger the evil ghost. The evil ghost was not willing to give up. No matter how many Buddhist scriptures he read, the evil ghost would not back down. Long Kato asked Li Seer what she had done. Li Seer's face turned blue and white, and finally he said what he had said. What? You poisoned using A. Long Kato jumped up. No wonder the ghost of Hushli was so persistent this time. It was Li Seer who touched Hushli's heart. Hushli would naturally not let Li Seer go. You are totally wrong this time. Long Kato could not help but feel a little annoyed. Although he did not like using A, Yu Xingge was his son after all, and his blood flowed in his body. Long Kato could allow Li Seer to torture and kill Hushli, but he would not allow her to kill his own blood. I am not doing this for your own good. Yu Xingge has now climbed over your head, can you really bear it? Li Seer was the best at grasping Long Kato's heart. Even though Long Kato knew in his heart that Li Seer was doing this for herself and her child, he still believed Li Seer's reasons when Li Seer said this. Alice, this matter is known to you and me, and it must not be known to other people, otherwise, I can't protect you this time. Long Kato instructed Li Seer, and asked Li Seer to tell him the names of his subordinates who knew about this matter, and he helped Li Seer to clean up the mess. Yu Xingge is now the hope and leader of the next generation of the entire Tong family. The clan leader and Tong Guai attach more importance to Yu Xingge than before. If the clan leader and his father knew that Li Seer had killed Yu Xingge, they would definitely skin Li Seer alive, and no matter how much he made a fuss, he could not protect Li Seer. Yet, Li Seer nodded pitifully. If it was her original appearance, this expression would be very beautiful, which made Long Kato feel distressed. But her current rough look? Long Kato felt it was an eyesore. Originally, he wanted to hug Li Seer to comfort her, but he just raised his hand halfway, put it down immediately, and turned away. The abbot of Tanchuo Temple can't do anything, I will find someone else to help you. After saying this, Long Kato left the main courtyard as quickly as possible. Li Seer's teeth were broken. How could she not understand that Long Kato despised her? The hateful Hushli actually tortured her in this way. Humph, when Long Kato finds a Taoist priest who can catch ghosts, she will definitely let the Taoist priest beat the ghost of Hushli to pieces, and never reincarnate. After what happened on New Year's Eve, Long Kado was afraid and met some so-called Taoist masters. Long Kado went to find someone after leaving the Tong family. Most of these masters are not on the capital. The cost of cheating in the capital is too high. These people just fooled Long Kado, made a lot of money and ran away, but now there is still one in the capital. This one is a Taoist nun named Madeopo, who is very skillful and very famous in a certain circle. Long Kado found Madeopo and gave her a generous gift, and Madeopo came happily. Then she saw Li Seer, who looked like a man, and Madeopo regretted it. Madeopo herself did not believe in ghosts and gods, otherwise she would not pretend to be a ghost. She thought that the abnormality of Li Seer was just like the other women in the backyard because they were uneasy because of doing evil, and they scared themselves, causing physical problems. Madeopo does not know Taoism, but she has good medical skills. The pills she made for people were actually specially prepared according to the physical condition of the people who came to her. These medicines are targeted at the actual physical conditions of the human body. Even if they help people completely eliminate the symptoms, they can also alleviate some of the symptoms. In the eyes of those people, they naturally think that Madeopo has profound Taoist skills and regards her as a master. However, a woman's appearance becomes a man. This situation is something that Madeopo has never seen before, let alone thought about. Even if she wants to determine the cause of Li Seer's illness, she has no idea where to start. What should I do? Say that I am not capable enough and can't help? But the third master of the Tong family stared at me covetously. If I back down, I won't have to stay in the capital in the future. First find a way to delay for a while, and then talk about other things. Madeopo made up her mind and pretended to perform a great dance and catch monsters and ghosts. Long Kado and Li Seer looked at Madeopo expectantly, hoping that she could get rid of the evil ghost. However, halfway through the ritual, Madeopo suddenly screamed, spurted out a mouthful of blood, and fell down with her whole body shaking. Long Kado, Li Seer and the servants were all terrified. Seeing Madeopo fall to the ground, no one stepped forward to help her. Fearing that something might be contaminated? Is she dead? Li Seer asked, pulling Long Kado's clothes. Long Kado stood far away and observed Madeopo, shook his head and said, "She is not dead, her chest is still rising and falling, she is still alive." He ordered a woman beside him, "Go up and see how Madeopo is doing." The woman trembled all over and dragged her feet forward. It was only a few meters away, but she walked for several minutes. When she was about to walk in front of Madeopo, suddenly, the unconscious person on the ground opened his eyes and jumped up from the ground, but then he fell forward again, falling on the woman. "Madeopo, are you awake? What happened just now?" Long Kado asked immediately. He didn't care whether Madeopo was physically okay, but only cared whether the ritual was successful and whether the evil spirit was subdued. Madeopo raised her finger to wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth, and said to Long Kado apologetically, "Master Tong, this evil ghost is very powerful. I am not strong enough to subdue the evil ghost, but was injured by it. Now the evil ghost has escaped, and I have also been seriously injured. I am afraid I can no longer help you and your wife." "What?" Li Seer screamed. "She ran away? Why are you so useless?" Madeopo made a shameful expression and sighed, "Madam, it is my incompetence. I will not take a penny of the remuneration paid by your house." "Is this a question of remuneration?" Li Seer was going crazy. Even the experts she specially found couldn't deal with Hushli. What should she do? Should she keep wearing this man's appearance? I am afraid that it won't be long before Long Kado will get tired of her. Chapter 468 Using a 16. Madeopo looked helpless and asked Long Kado to find someone else with high power. Long Kado had no choice but to send Madeopo away after seeing her injured with his own eyes. He knew that she was not capable enough, so he thought of asking people to go outside the capital to find those masters he knew. Madeopo walked out of the Tong family, turned into an empty alley, spit out a mouthful of blood, and took a breath. "It hurts. I have to speak normally after biting the tip of my tongue, so that no one will find out that it is wrong. It's too torturous." Madeopo was proud that she got rid of the trouble. Although she did not accept the reward from the Tong family, Long Kado had given her a generous gift before, so she still made a profit on this trip. Madeopo calculated how much her property had increased, and she never thought about whether Li Seer and Long Kado would let her, who knew the inside story, go. The abbot of Tanchuo Temple has a big family and a big business, and even the emperor respects him. He is not a talkative person and will help others keep secrets. Long Kado and Li Seer did not dare to touch the abbot of Tanshuo Temple. But what about her? She was just a Taoist nun with no background, and she knew Li Seer's secret. How could Long Kado and Li Seer allow her to live? In the middle of the night, the house where Ma Daopo lived caught fire. The fire was very big. The neighbors nearby tried their best to put out the fire, but they only stopped the fire from spreading to both sides, and the house where Ma Daopo lived was completely burned down, and everything inside was burned to charcoal. In the suburbs, Ma Daopo, who was still frightened, was brought to Using a. Ma Daopo. Using said, "Yes, it's me. This young master, thank you for saving my life." Ma Daopo bent very low. "Young master is the lifesaver of me and my daughter. If you have any instructions, just say it. I will definitely help you. People have worked so hard to save her and her daughter, there must be something she needs to do." And she didn't have the strength to challenge them, so she had to obey them. But her daughter is still in their hands. "Don't worry, I won't endanger your life and your daughter's life." Using smiled. This is a smart man, otherwise he wouldn't have fooled those backyard women in the capital. And she likes talking to smart people the most. Ma Daopo bowed her head respectfully, looking like she was listening to orders. Su Qingni said, "Do you know who set the fire last night?" "I know." Ma Daopo knew who wanted her life as soon as she thought about it. Although she knew a lot of backyard secrets, those secrets were not enough to take her life, and the only thing that was enough to take her life was the one in front of her. Su Qingni said, "Murder and arson are serious crimes in the capital. You know what to do, right?" Ma Daopo's face turned pale. She was a commoner who went to sue the rich and powerful. "Isn't this courting death?" Su Qingni assured her at the right time, "Don't worry, I will protect you. I will also have someone take good care of your daughter. When the case is over, you and your daughter will be reunited and you can go wherever you want." "This is a threat." Ma Daopo looked at her daughter who was still in shock and was being pulled by a maid, gritted her teeth and promised, "I'll go back to the city now." A fire broke out, and Shunshan Prefecture, as the manager of the capital, must send someone to investigate. The person who just investigated here has just returned and said that no bodies were found at the scene of the fire, which made the prefect of Shunshan Prefecture relieved. Someone outside the yamen beat the drum to complain. The prefect asked the yamen runners to bring the person beating the drum to the court and ask him. Well, it was the owner of the house where the fire broke out, Ma Daopo, who escaped with her life. As soon as Ma Daopo opened her mouth, she sued the prince of the current dynasty and his concubine for disregarding human life and killing people to silence them. As for why they killed people to silence them? Because the prince's concubine did evil things, she was retaliated by evil spirits and turned into a monster that was neither male nor female. The people of Shunshan Prefecture gasped when they heard it. This matter is very tricky. Long Kado is the most favored minister of the emperor, and even the prefect of Shunshan Prefecture dare not defend him. What should I do? The prefect of Shunshan Prefecture is in a big head. The eyes of other people in Shunshan Prefecture were shining. What did they hear? The concubine of the prince of the duke was retaliated by the evil spirit and turned into a monster that was neither male nor female? Oh my, this gossip is too explosive. Everyone was imagining what the monster that was neither male nor female looked like, and they wanted to see it with their own eyes. Just when the governor of Shunshan Prefecture was thinking about how to report this matter to Master Kang, the news that Li Seer had turned into a monster that was neither male nor female had spread. This kind of gossip is what the people like to hear the most. It wasn't long before the news that Li Seer was retaliated by the evil spirit and turned into a monster spread throughout the capital. At Tong Mansion, Tong Guaoyi was furious when he heard the report from the servants. He immediately called more than a dozen servants and rushed into the main courtyard to tie up Li Seer. Long Kado naturally stopped him and confronted Tong Guaoyi. He was still looking forward to the day when Li Seer would change back, and he was reluctant to let Li Seer die. Tong Guaoyi gasped when he saw Li Seer's current appearance. "You are still protecting her." Tong Guaoyi pointed at Li Seer and scolded Long Kado, "Doesn't it hurt your eyes to see her like this?" Long Kado turned away from Tong Guaoyi's gaze. Yes, it really hurts his eyes to see her. But isn't this temporary? As long as the evil ghost is killed, Seer will recover. Recover? Tong Guaoyi snorted coldly, recover this time? What about the next time? This woman has a vicious mind. She has been retaliated by the evil ghost twice in a row. If it happens again, I'm afraid the evil ghost will even resent our Tong family. Old Heshli said, Long Kato, this woman can't be kept. Deal with her, and mother will find more beauties for you. Long Kato stiffened his neck. No, Seer is my treasure, and no woman can replace her. Long Kato. Li Seer couldn't help but be moved, but her rough voice was so tender and sweet that it gave people goosebumps. Long Kato shook his body, not daring to look at Li Seer, and said directly to Tongguai and Heshli, if you want to kidnap Seer, step over my body. Tongguai was so angry, but he really had no way to deal with Long Kato, and the two sides were deadlocked. The housekeeper ran in from outside and said to Tongguai and Long Kato, Master, third master, a eunuch came to the palace and said that the emperor summoned you two to the palace. Enter the palace. Tongguai was shocked. Could it be that the emperor also knows about Li's affairs? Long Kato was also shocked, and worry rose on his face. The housekeeper hung his head. Now the news of Li Seer's affairs has spread all over the capital, and someone has reported Long Kato and Li Seer to Shunshan Prefecture. How could the emperor not know? Even if he didn't know, the Shunshan Prefecture Yin would report the matter to the emperor. Tongguai and Long Kato also thought of this, and the father and son felt that a disaster was coming. Chapter 469 Using a Shiki. With worry, the father and son changed into court robes and hurriedly followed a young eunuch into the palace. Li Seer fell to the ground after Long Kato left. It's over, it's really over this time. Old Heshli glanced at Li Seer with contempt, and asked the servants to tie up Li Seer and lock him in the woodshed. The servants knew that Li Seer was really in trouble this time, and even Long Kato could not save Li Seer. The servants who were sitting on the fence obeyed the old Heshli's order without hesitation and tied up Li Seer. Tongguai and Long Kato met Su Qingni in the palace. When the prefect of Shunshan entered the palace to report the matter of Ma Daopo, Su Qingni happened to be next to Master Kang. After hearing the report from the prefect of Shunshan Prefecture, Master Kang asked Su Qingni, is the matter about Li Seer true? Su Qingni acted as if she was surprised. I live in the outer courtyard and have a bad relationship with Li. I don't know what happened to her. Master Kang hummed, indicating that he believed Su Qingni's words. He was still very clear about the affairs of the Tong family. You have a good mother. Master Kang also believed the words of the evil ghost. Su Qingni twitched her mouth. Master Kang hated Li Seer so much that she actually attracted the revenge of the evil ghost twice, which showed how vicious Li Seer had done. Such a woman, living is a waste of food. And Long Kato, who doted on such a woman, really disappointed him. Su Qingni helped Tongguai up and helped him stand aside to listen to the lecture. Master Kang did not call Long Kato up. He held the memorial and looked at it, as if he had forgotten that there was a person named Long Kato. Long Kato was sweating all over, but he did not dare to wipe the sweat with his hands. No one in the imperial study dared to make a sound, and it continued in silence. About half an hour later, when the sweat rolling down Long Kato's body almost soaked the carpet, Master Kang finally spoke. Long Kato, you know what to do, right? I know, Long Kato replied, his drooping face full of heartache and unwillingness. But what can he do? The emperor has spoken, what else can he do? Go down, Master Kang ordered. Yes. Long Kato retreated. This time, Master Kang put down the memorial and said to Tongguai, Uncle, the Tong family will be handed over to you Xinga in the future. Tongguai agreed, yes, I understand. Seeing that his son was about to be ruined, the Tong family could only rely on their grandson using a. Master Kang nodded and asked Tongguai and Yu Xinga to retreat. Yu Xinga accompanied Tongguai to the palace gate and separated from using a. He also had to deal with Ma Daopo's matter. Although Master Kang sentenced Li Seer to death, he still had to protect Long Kato. He gave instructions to the Shunshan prefectural governor, who refused to accept Ma Daopo's accusation due to insufficient evidence and drove her out of the Shunshan prefectural government office. Ma Daopo knew that the government office would not accept the case, but she was not disappointed. As soon as she left the government office, she went into the alley next to it. There were people arranged by Su Qingni to pick up Ma Daopo in the alley, who helped Ma Daopo get rid of the people who were following her and sent her out of the city. Outside the city, Su Qingni was waiting for Ma Daopo with her daughter. When Ma Daopo came, Su Qingni gave Ma Daopo a package containing thousands of taels of silver notes, and asked her men to send Ma Daopo and her daughter away from the capital. You are a smart person, Su Qingni said to Ma Daopo. Ma Daopo said she understood. She would never come back to the capital. She would never do anything like playing tricks again in the future. The less you know about the secrets of the backhouse, the better. Otherwise, you will die if you are not careful. Anyway, she has saved a lot of money this year, plus what Su Qingni gave. It is enough for her and her daughter to live for the rest of their lives. When the time comes, buy a few hundred acres of land, build a big house, and let your daughter give birth to a son-in-law. After sending away the Taoist priest, Su Qingni returned to the Tong family. When she returned to her own yard, Su Qingni heard Liuer's report. Long Kato wanted to take Li Seer away after returning to the Tong mansion, saying that he would personally send Li Seer on the road. But everyone is not a fool. Who knows whether Long Kato will hide Li Seer or kill Li Seer. Old Heshali did not agree to Long Kato taking people away, and Tong Guaoyi returned to the mansion during the stalemate. This time, Tong Guaoyi was ruthless. Not only did he have Li Seer beaten to death, he also beat Long Kato so hard that he vomited blood. Because Yazoo and Li Seer's daughter were of the Tong family, Tong Guaoyi did not do anything to them. He just had them sent to live in the manor in Tuangzhou, and they were not allowed to return to the Tong mansion in the future. These people's mothers died overnight, and they were abandoned by their families. You can imagine how sad they were. When they left, they cried and were heartbroken. It was unbearable to watch them, and they felt very pitiful. What's so pitiful? Su Qingni sneered, at least they are still alive. Although they were abandoned by the family, they were not completely ignored. They have food and clothes, and their lives are much better than ordinary people. Liuer heard it and thought it was true. No matter what, they are still young masters and young ladies, and they don't have to worry about food and clothing, which is better than them, the servants. How is the third master's injury? Is his life in danger? Su Qingni asked. It would be best if he died of his injuries. Li Seer was dead, so he might as well leave with him. This is the true love of following each other in life and death. The third master's injury is not serious. He vomited blood just because his teeth bit the tip of his tongue. The third master did not hurt his internal organs, but only external injuries. Liuer replied. After all, he is the most arrogant and powerful master in the mansion. How dare the servants use heavy hands? He got it easy. Su Qingni muttered and sent Liuer away. She changed her clothes and went to Long Kato's yard. Alice, there was no way. Long Kato was her employer. As his son, she had to visit him when she knew her father was injured. Otherwise, it would be unfilial. Long Kato did not see Su Qingni. When he heard the servants report that Yuzinga came to visit him, Long Kato shouted in the room to let Su Qingni get out. He blamed Yuzinga for Li Seer's death. If he hadn't been injured now and Yuzinga was valued by the emperor, he would have wanted to get out of bed and beat Su Qingni up with his own hands. Su Qingni rolled away quickly. Anyway, she had done what she should do. After Li Seer's death, Long Kato became silent. There was no one in the Tong mansion that was annoying, and it was very peaceful. However, under this calmness, there was a violent flame, and who knew when it would erupt? And the owner of the flame was naturally Long Kato. Long Kato has changed a lot. He is no longer as arrogant and energetic as before. He has become extremely gloomy, with a pair of vicious eyes full of malice. Su Qingni stared at these eyes, with the corners of her mouth slightly raised. Misfortunes sent by heaven can be forgiven, but misfortunes brought by oneself cannot be forgiven. Long Kato is now heading for his own death. Chapter 470 Using 18. Long Kato is now heading for his own death. Should I give him a push? Forget it. The more you do, the more mistakes you make. The royal family's spies are not vegetarians. Although I am powerful, I am limited to myself. If I arrange other people to do things, I am afraid they will not be able to escape the royal family's spies. Su Qingni decided to stay put. Cement has now been developed and is being promoted nationwide. Su Qingni is responsible for this area. It must be used in the right way, such as building roads and dams, instead of being used by some people for private purposes. In addition to this job, Su Qingni has to report to Master Kang every day, chat with Master Kang, and clear his mind. Now that the battle for the throne of the 9 dragons has entered a white-hot stage, Master Kang can imagine how annoyed he is when he sees his sons jumping around happily. He wanted to keep all these sons obedient, but his sons have grown up and become more mature, and he, the emperor, can't even keep them all down at once. Just like the 8th brother. Master Kang deprived the 8th prince of his title and stopped his salary, but there were still many ministers following the 8th prince, and the 9th prince gave him money. The power in the hands of the 8th prince did not decrease. Master Kang was even more angry about this, and felt that this son was a huge threat to him. However, Master Kang really couldn't do anything to the 8th prince for a while, so he could only lock him by his side to guard against the 8th prince. Su Qingni walked into the door of the restaurant. This restaurant was opened by the 9th prince, but the dishes inside were drafted by Zhang, the princess of the 8th prince's mansion. Naturally, Zhang was also a time-traveling girl. In her previous life, she was a food anchor. Although she didn't cook very well, she knew how to cook many dishes. In order to compete with another time-traveling girl in the 8th prince's mansion for the favor of the 8th prince, she took out the recipe she had compiled and cooperated with the 9th prince to open a restaurant to help the 8th prince solve the problem of money. The recipe given by Zhang is indeed a fine product, and the dishes made are very delicious. Su Qingni likes their family's dishes very much and comes to the restaurant every few days. Well, the food in this restaurant is not cheap, otherwise Su Qingni would have come here for every meal. Su Qingni was very happy that there were so many time-traveling women in this world. Because of their existence, the Qing dynasty in this world has changed a lot, and the biggest change is in the aspect of enjoyment. Food, housing and transportation have all made great progress, making people enjoy it more. And because these time-traveling women knew that there were many time-traveling companions, their sense of competition broke out, and each of them tried to move the knowledge they learned in the previous life to this world to help their favorite prince, so that this world would improve and develop in all aspects. Even without him, this world will develop well in the future, right? The history of the late Qing dynasty for 100 years must have changed, right? Using a. Su Qingni looked over in the direction of the voice, and saw the 4th prince standing at the railing on the 2nd floor calling her. Next to him stood a woman with a soft appearance. Judging from the woman's age, she was naturally not the 4th wife. Well, she should be one of the 3 time-traveling women who entered the mansion later. The servant Yuzinga greets the 4th master. Su Qingni shook her sleeves and saluted the 4th prince. The cold voice of the 4th prince was a little friendly. We are brothers, no need to be polite. Su Qingni chuckled. When you were getting along with Longkato, you didn't treat Yuzinga as a brother. It's a coincidence that we meet, let's go together. The 4th prince made an invitation. Su Qingni naturally couldn't refuse. Who said he was the master? Su Qingni smiled. It's better to destroy the system of master and servant. Su Qingni followed the 4th prince into a box. After sitting down, the 4th prince introduced Su Qingni to the woman next to him, Fu Cha. Being introduced to the outside man by the 4th prince himself, and being able to stay by the side when the 4th prince talked to the outside man, it can be seen that the 4th prince values Fu Cha very much. After Su Qingni and Fu Cha exchanged a few greetings, she ignored Fu Cha and kept chatting with the 4th prince, from the things in the court to the knowledge in the books, from the capital to the local areas. At first, the 4th prince's words were full of testing, but later he found that Yuzinga's knowledge was not worse than his, so he let go of his thoughts and chatted with Yuzinga happily, feeling that Su Qingni was a confidant. Although Su Qingni's eyes were always on the 4th prince, Fu Cha's actions did not escape her eyes. This person who had been secretly observing her, looking at her with that kind of evaluating eyes, which reminded Su Qingni of a kind of person she met in other worlds, profilers. The dinner was a great pleasure for both the host and the guests. Su Qingni said goodbye and left, leaving the 4th prince and Fu Cha in the room. How is it? The 4th prince asked while drinking tea. Fu Cha raised her head, no longer shy in front of outsiders, and her face was full of confidence. Just like what others have said, she is a person who can endure. Because of her parents, she has a great inferiority complex in her heart. Fu Cha talked freely, analyzed what she observed, and told the 4th prince. Of course, what she could see was what Su Qingni deliberately showed her. After listening to Fu Cha's analysis, the 4th prince was very satisfied. You have made a plan to win Yuzinga over to our side. Yes, sir. Fu Cha said confidently, I will definitely make the most reasonable plan for using a. Su Qingni did not hear the conversation between the 4th prince and Fu Cha, but she could guess their conversation. Su Qingni has confirmed Fu Cha's occupation before she traveled through time. No wonder the 4th prince wanted to bring her with him and even let her meet other men. Fu Cha's skills are a huge plug-in for the 4th prince. With a profiler to help the 4th prince analyze the ministers and subordinates in the court, wouldn't it be easier for the 4th prince to develop his subordinates? Su Qingni was about to go downstairs, and suddenly she caught a glimpse of a familiar figure flashing by from the corner of her eye. Su Qingni paused, but did not stop and walked out of the restaurant. A few days later, Su Qingni went to the palace to see Master Kang and talked about some things. Master Kang looked at Su Qingni and felt that they shared the same suffering. They both had relatives who wished they would die. The difference was that Master Kang's was a son, while Su Qingni's was a biological father. It's not easy for you either. Master Kang patted Su Qingni's shoulder with pity. Su Qingni pretended to be sad. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your understanding. Kangxi sighed. I didn't expect Long Kado to be such a bastard. For a woman, he actually betrayed me and ignored his own family. Su Qingni hurriedly said, Your Majesty, my Mafa and uncle know nothing. I understand. Kangxi said, Don't worry, even for the sake of Empress Dowager Xia Kangxiang and Empress Xia Yiren, I will not blame the Tong family. Chapter 471 Using a 19. It's the end of the year palace banquet again. The Tong family members who have titles, official positions and imperial edicts put on formal attire and entered the palace to attend the palace banquet. Long Kado followed behind Tong Guai, with a smile on his lips, completely different from his previous gloomy look, and restored his former wanton and flamboyant look. Tong Guai and old Heshley looked very happy, thinking that Long Kado had figured it out. Su Qingni followed behind Long Kado, looking at Long Kado's back, and the corners of her mouth also curled up. The arc was exactly the same as the arc of Long Kado's mouth. Someone is looking for trouble. Yang's carriage came to the outside of the palace gate, got off the horse and carriage, and walked into the palace gate. Before he took 2 steps, Su Qingni heard the 4th prince calling his name. Turning his head, the 4th prince walked towards them with the 4th wife and Fucha. Greetings to the 4th master, greetings to the 4th wife. Tong Guai and old Heshley hurriedly saluted the 4th prince and the 4th wife. The 4th prince held Tong Guai with his hand, while the 4th lady held old Heshley to stop them from bowing. Grandpa, there's no need to be polite. We are all family, so don't be so formal. The 4th prince said with a gentle expression. Su Qingni, with the dual identities of a subordinate and a junior, had to bow. Long Kado stood aside, not bowing either, but just smiled at the 4th prince, with full of malice in his eyes. This was of course seen by Fu Cha. The 4th prince invited the Tong family to go with him, and Tong Guai naturally agreed. However, Long Kado sneered and strode away alone. The 4th prince's expression did not change, but his eyes dimmed. Tong Guai quickly apologized to the 4th prince on behalf of his son, and the 4th prince waved his hand to show that he didn't mind. My lord, Long Kado is not right. Fu Cha stepped forward and whispered in the 4th prince's ear. The 4th prince said him softly, expressing his doubts. Fu Cha whispered, Long Kado's eyes are filled with madness and determination, as well as contempt for you. I'm afraid that today's palace banquet is not safe. The 4th prince was shocked and asked hurriedly, Are you sure? Fu Cha replied firmly, I am sure. She was confident in her professional ability and could not be wrong. The 4th prince was a little panicked. If something really happened tonight, would the emperor know? Whose man was Long Kado now? But it was definitely not him. If Long Kado succeeded, his other brothers would be in power, and he would have no chance of getting that position. It was possible that the lives of his entire family would be in danger. The 4th prince immediately said, You and the lady go to see mother, and I'll go to see the emperor. Fu Cha said worriedly, This is just my guess. There is no evidence, and the emperor won't believe it. What if the emperor thinks that I'm looking for trouble and blames me? The 4th prince said with a gloomy face, Even if the emperor thinks that I'm looking for trouble, I'll tell him. Even if the emperor believes me a little and makes some arrangements, there will be more hope. If I don't tell him, there will be no hope at all. After saying that, the 4th prince raised his voice, said annoyance to Tong Guai, and left in a hurry. The 4th prince also took Fu Cha to say goodbye to the old Heshley, and walked away at a quickened pace. Tong Guai and the old Heshley were confused. What's wrong with the 4th prince and the 4th prince? It feels like a dog is chasing and biting them. Su Qingni laughed. Tong Guai was comparing Long Kado to a dog, right? Long Kado is a dog? Then what is Tong Guai? The 4th prince hurried to the King Palace, met Master Kang, and told Kangxi about Fu Cha's discovery. Of course, he couldn't say that this was Fu Cha's analysis based on Long Kado's behavior and eyes. He only said that Long Kado leaked a little when he spoke, and he felt something was wrong and became suspicious. He came to report to Master Kang and asked Master Kang to strengthen his vigilance no matter what. Master Kang looked at the fourth prince with satisfaction. With his observation ability and sharpness, the fourth prince is a qualified heir. The most valuable thing is his heart. When there is danger, the first person he thinks of is his father. Very good. Master Kang patted the fourth prince on the shoulder and said to him, "Today's banquet, you stay by my side and don't go anywhere." The fourth prince's eyes flashed and he was relieved. It seems that the emperor has been prepared. I don't know which brother caused the incident tonight. After tonight, this brother will withdraw from the fight for the throne. When the time came, Master Kang took the fourth prince into the banquet hall. The fourth prince received the jealous and envious eyes of his brothers. The eyes of his brothers fell on him, almost shooting holes through his body. The fourth prince was happy in his heart, changing his usual low-key style, and quite enjoyed these eye attacks. The second prince held a wine glass and stared at the fourth prince with cold eyes. What a good fourth prince, he had deceived me before, but I didn't expect that he was the most ambitious one. Humph, no matter how much you try to please the emperor, it's useless. After today, you brothers will crawl at my feet. The palace banquet began, just like the usual process. Most of the dishes at the banquet were cold and unpalatable. The people who attended the banquet had eaten before coming, and after the palace banquet, they would go back to their own homes to have a family banquet and eat, so the food at the palace banquet was just for display, and almost no one ate it. But the wine was different. The wine at the palace banquet was all good wine tributed from all over the country. Some of them were only tributed to the royal family because of their scarcity, and they were not sold outside. Most men like to drink, so the annual palace banquet is the time for men to drink happily. Su Qingni held a wine glass, which contained Niangniang wine from Bashu. It was mellow, white, and looked like dew. It was indeed a top-quality wine. Niangniang wine has a history of more than 1,000 years. It was once a royal tribute wine in the Tang dynasty. The wine in Li buys 5 colored horses, furs worth thousands of gold, call my son to exchange for fine wine, and share the eternal sorrow with you refers to Niangniang wine. There are also stories of scholars exchanging golden minks and exchanging minks to redeem wine. However, this light white wine does not seem to be as clear as before. Su Qingni stared at the dew in the wine glass and smiled. Other people could not tell the difference between today's wine and ordinary Niangniang wine, but what was Su Qingni's look? There was something more in the wine, and she could easily see it. Su Qingni chuckled, raised her head, and drank the wine in the wineglass. Halfway through the palace banquet, Tongguao discovered that Long Kato was missing, and turned to Su Qingni and asked, "Did you see where your father went?" Tongguao was worried that Long Kato would get into trouble after drinking too much. And his worries were not in vain. Long Kato really got into trouble, and it would still affect the family's big things. Su Qingni smiled slightly. "Mafa, don't worry, your father will be back soon." Chapter 472 Using a 20. "Mafa, please be patient. Father will be back soon." As soon as Su Qingni finished speaking, the second prince stood up from his seat, walked to Master Kang with a cup in his hand, and said loudly, "Father, I offer you a glass of wine. I wish you a new year and a good start next year." Master Kang stared at his favorite son with complicated eyes. He could not imagine that this son would hate him so much and go all out to this point. Disappointment and sadness rose in his heart, but were quickly suppressed by Master Kang. "Oh? What kind of new start will there be next year?" Master Kang asked lightly. The second prince smiled. "Change the reign? Is it considered a new start?" "What?" Except for Master Kang, everyone else in the hall was shocked. "Change the reign? What is a change of reign?" Changing the reign name during the emperor's reign or issuing the reign name when the new emperor ascends the throne is called a change of reign. Master Kang has never revealed the idea of changing the reign, so the only way is to change the reign when the new emperor ascends the throne. Damn. The second prince is going to rebel. Everyone's face turned pale. It seemed that the second prince had made some preparations to carry out a coup tonight. I wonder how many people will die in this coup? Will they all become victims of this coup? Master Kang sighed quietly and said, "Before this, I had been expecting you to turn back from your wrong path for the sake of our father-son relationship. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Father-son relationship." Hearing these 4 words, the second prince's face twisted. "If you still had a little father-son relationship for me, how could you have deposed and re-established me? And used me completely? Father, your majesty, You were the first to abandon the father-son relationship. Master Kang said sadly, if I didn't have father-son relationship for you, I would have killed you long ago based on the mistakes you made before. I didn't kill you, I didn't demote you to a commoner, I let you live well in the palace, enjoying wealth. What else are you dissatisfied with? The second prince laughed. You imprisoned me in the palace, I have no freedom, and I also lost a position of crown prince that originally belonged to me. You still want to satisfy me? Father, your majesty, I would rather die than be a disguised prisoner without freedom. So you launched a coup? You don't even think about the consequences of a failed coup. Master Kang said in a deep voice. The second prince laughed. Sure enough, nothing can be hidden from you, the emperor. You are just waiting for your son to take the bait, right? Master Kang did not speak, but stared at the second prince indifferently. At this moment, footsteps were heard outside the palace. After a while, a general in armor walked in. He was followed by several guards, two of whom were holding a man, who was Long Kato, who left the banquet in the middle of the banquet. Long Kato was also wearing armor, but he was in a mess, with his hands tied behind his back. Two guards pushed him forward, looking like he was captured. Seeing this scene, Tong Guoyi's eyes went dark and he almost fainted. Seeing all this, what else is there to not understand? Long Kato, the audacious one, blamed the emperor for Li Sier's death, and even colluded with the second prince and followed the second prince to rebel. If it succeeded, it would be fine, but it is obvious that the emperor is already prepared now. They failed and Long Kato was arrested. Rebellion. This is a crime punishable by the execution of 9 generations of the family. The entire Tong family was dragged down by this beast. Tong Guoyi was shaking all over and was about to collapse. Su Qingni was afraid that the old man would be angry and cause trouble, so she stepped forward to support Tong Guoyi and whispered a few words in his ear. Don't worry, Mafa, the emperor promised his grandson that he would not blame the Tong family. Tong Guoyi heard this, his eyes suddenly brightened, and he stared at Su Qingni with burning eyes. Su Qingni nodded at him. Tong Guoyi was overjoyed, the Tong family was saved. It is said that old ginger is spicy, but in their Tong family, this sentence is the opposite. Obviously, Yu Xingge had noticed Long Kato's collusion with the second prince. What he did in it, he gained credit and the emperor's trust, so that the emperor would not blame the Tong family for Long Kato's bastard things. How unfortunate the Tong family is to have such a bastard and unfilial grandson Long Kato, and how lucky the Tong family is to have such an excellent grandson using a. Tong Guoyi stopped trembling, while Long Kato was lying on the ground trembling all over. When he went crazy with the second prince, he was not afraid at all, but now that he failed and was caught, Long Kato began to be afraid. His mind became much clearer, and he thought a lot. He was rebelling this time. But it was a big deal that implicated the 9 clans. Well, the emperor's family was also among his 9 clans, so the 9 clans would definitely not be implicated, but the whole Tong family would be punished for this. His father, mother, brothers, sons and daughters would be arrested or even exiled and killed because of him. His parents died, and he was unfilial. In the underworld, he had no face to see them and the ancestors of the Tong family. His son died, and his bloodline and incense were cut off, and no one would burn incense and paper for him in the future. Without offerings, wouldn't he be a beggar in the underworld? Is it worth it to destroy his family for a woman? It seems not worth it. Is he crazy? Why would he do such a thing of confiscating the family and exterminating the clan for a woman? The more Long Kato thought about it, the more scared he became. He lay on the ground, his whole body shaking like sifting bran. However, the most honorable father and son were in no mood to pay attention to him, and the two were confronting each other. When the second prince saw Long Kato being tied up and brought in, he knew that the plan had failed. He had failed miserably. This time, she was not just imprisoned. The second prince looked at Master Kang and said, "Your Majesty has made every possible plan. I am far inferior to you." Master Kang nodded. "You really still have a lot to learn. If you calm down and study, and don't be so impatient, you won't end up like this." The second prince snorted coldly and sneered, "Thank you for your advice, Your Majesty. However, my good Your Majesty, even if you have made arrangements, what does it matter? Your son is not a pushover." Master Kang narrowed his eyes, had a bad premonition in his heart, and asked, "What did you do?" The second prince smiled, "Nothing, I just asked someone to put something in the wine that you and your brothers drank." Master Kang stared at the second prince, not quite believing what he said. The second prince had cleared out his staff in the palace several times, and those who stayed were those that Kangxi had specifically wanted to keep, and there were other people around to monitor them. According to the news from the secret guards, those people had no chance to take action in the wine. Your Majesty, do you think I'm lying to you? The second prince smiled. Then you can wait, the drug will take effect soon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473 Using a 21. The second prince looked very good, with a romantic look. Standing in the hall at this moment, he did not show any madness, and his wanton look made him look more like a celebrity in the Wei and Jin dynasties. Even the ministers of other princes looked at the second prince's current appearance, and couldn't help but feel sorry for him in their hearts. This second prince is actually quite good, even better than other princes. It's just that he has a bad fate. His father's life is too long, so he can only be the second forever. As a result, he was unwilling to accept it, and ended up like this. You are stalling for time. Master Kang didn't believe what the second prince said, and didn't think that he and his other sons had been tricked. He just thought that the second prince was stalling for time. The second prince smiled and said, my biological mother was the empress after all. She was in charge of the palace for a period of time. Even though she had left for decades, she still left some hidden forces. Father, when the empress was still there, the palace and the court were not stable. At that time, your control over the palace was not as good as it is now. You don't know what the empress has arranged, right? Upon hearing this, Master Kang's determined expression changed, and his face couldn't help but darken. Could it really be the hidden hand of Ashley? At this time, the seventh prince, who was in poor health among the princes, and several younger princes suddenly trembled all over and fell on the table. Not long after, other adult princes also fell one after another. The fourth prince fell directly at the feet of Master Kang. Master Kang's face turned pale, and then he felt that all his strength disappeared, and he fell straight backwards. But he did not fall to the ground. The loyal eunuch Li Dequan reached out and supported Master Kang. You beast who killed the king and the father. Master Kang scolded the second prince. He wanted to point his finger at the second prince's nose and curse him, but unfortunately he had no strength and couldn't even lift his fingers. The second prince laughed loudly. This is all forced by you, the emperor. Emperor, you can go with peace of mind. Your son will take over your country and make the Qing dynasty better. Master Kang was so angry that he couldn't speak. The second prince laughed even more wantonly, showing the demeanor of a winner. All the ministers in the hall were pale. They saw with their own eyes that the second prince killed his father and the emperor and harmed his brothers. Can they still survive? The second prince will silence them, right? Long Kato stopped shaking. The second prince actually won, so he doesn't have to die, right? Long Kato was proud in his heart, and threw all the previous confessions behind him. He wanted to stand up and proudly show off his merits to others. However, why can't he stand up? Why is he weak all over and can't stand up? Could it be that the second prince not only drugged the emperor and his brothers, but also drugged himself? The second prince is a lunatic even crazier than himself. Long Kato began to tremble all over again. Not only Long Kato, but other ministers in the palace also found themselves weak and unable to move. They were so scared that their souls flew away. Sure enough, the second prince wanted to kill people to silence them. He was a ruthless man who wanted to kill all the court officials in one fell swoop. The second prince said, "Don't worry, I am not a person who kills indiscriminately. The reason why you can't move is that you are paralyzed, not poisoned." Hearing this, the ministers breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the second prince is not too crazy. Thinking of this, everyone gave in. For the sake of their own lives, they all shouted, "Long live the second prince!" Whether it was the people of the fourth prince or the people of the eighth prince and the 14th prince, they all shouted very loudly at this time. For fear that the voice would be too low, the second prince would be displeased and would kill himself in an instant. Now life is in the hands of the second prince. The second prince was full of pride and walked towards the middle seat. Just as he was about to sit down, his body suddenly softened and he fell in front of the dragon throne. Everyone! What on earth is going on? Did the second prince also take poison? Or, is this the emperor's backup plan? Damn it. Isn't the Ixangeluo family annihilated? The hall was a rare wonder. Except for the eunuchs and palace maids who served, no one in the master's house could stand, and they all lay on the ground. The eunuchs and palace maids were all terrified and hurried to the female family to find the queen mother, the concubines, and the officials' families. When the women heard the report, they were all terrified. The queen mother and a group of female family members hurried over and claimed their own men and children and grandchildren. Master Kang was taken back to the Niangniang palace by the queen mother, and the imperial physician was summoned for rescue. The princes were taken back to their own palaces by their mothers and concubines, and they also hurried to find the imperial physician for rescue. Poor fourth prince, his mother doesn't like him. It's better for the 10th prince to have a good brother's mother to take care of him. Fourth prince didn't get a single eye from his mother, and was pitifully taken back to his mansion by fourth lady. All the ministers were also taken back to the mansion by their wives, and they couldn't even find the imperial physician. Because all the imperial physicians were called away by the royal family, they could only find doctors from the public for diagnosis and treatment. However, there were too many men who fell down, and the number of doctors was insufficient, which led to many families competing for a doctor. Fortunately, these ministers were just anesthetics that made people weak, and they were not dangerous. They could recover without seeing a doctor. After one night, the ministers all returned to normal, and then hurried into the palace to inquire about the situation. The situation was very bad. The emperor and all the princes were all knocked out by the drug. Although the imperial physician judged that there was no danger of life, their bodies became extremely weak, and they had no strength and were sleepy. It was absolutely impossible for them to do anything, and they could only rest well. The ministers. They looked at each other in bewilderment. The emperor and the prince have fallen. Who will be the emperor? Who will be in charge? The emperor's grandson or the royal family? The ministers found that the second prince was too cruel. He not only drugged the emperor and his brothers, but also his nephews, cousins and the descendants of his cousins. They were all drugged. As retribution, the second prince's son was also drugged like his father. What a sin. Oh my god. All the men in the Azangiaro family have fallen. Who will be in charge? Are the women in charge? This won't do. The hen crowing at dawn cannot happen again, and Wu Zixin must not reappear. But there is no one in charge? What should the court do? What should the world do? The ministers were all worried. However, some people with ulterior motives began to stir. Everyone has ambition, but they just don't have the opportunity to realize their ambitions. Now there is an opportunity in front of them. Who wouldn't be tempted? Chapter 474 Using at 22. It is better to be moved than to be moved. Several people who control the military power began to take action. Unfortunately, before they could implement the action, these people were arrested by Su Qingni and thrown into prison. It turned out that although Kangxi's health had deteriorated and he could not work hard, he was the emperor after all, and giving orders was just a matter of moving his mouth. Su Qingni reported the evidence of those people's rebellion to Kangxi, and Kangxi gave Yu Xingge the tiger talisman, allowing Su Qingni to mobilize troops to deal with those who had different intentions. This move killed the chicken to scare the monkey, and shocked many people in the court who were ready to move. Let them know that although the men of the Azangiaro family are useless, they still have power in their hands, and there are people loyal to the Azangiaro family. If you want to change the dynasty, it shouldn't be too difficult for you to take the throne. Yu Xingge acted very loyal in front of Master Kang, and Master Kang had a complicated mood when facing him. It's not that I didn't doubt Yu Xingge's intentions, but my family was all paralyzed in bed and useless. If Yu Xingge wanted to kill them, it wouldn't be difficult. But Yu Xingge didn't have the slightest intention of usurping the throne. Perhaps her thoughts were more secretive and he couldn't see them for a while. Let's just assume that Yu Xingge was a loyal minister. And Yu Xingge was also his nephew, and had some blood relationship with him. Now that the men of the Azangiaro family were no longer useful, the country couldn't be without a monarch for a day, so why not pass the throne to Yu Xingge? However, the throne was not inherited by his own descendants, but given to relatives from other families. Master Kang was unwilling to accept it no matter how he thought about it. But even if he was unwilling, seeing the emotions in the eyes of the courtiers becoming more and more complicated and impatient, he had to make up his mind. So, Master Kang asked the eunuch to call Yu Xingge, and also called Zhang Tengyu, Ma Qi and other Manchu and Han officials, and asked Zhang Tingyu to draft a decree of succession to pass the throne to using a. Su Qingni quickly refused, saying bluntly that she would never be an emperor, and the throne belonged to the Azanjiro family, and could only belong to the Azanjiro family. The court officials were jealous of Yu Xing's good luck, while helping Master Kang persuade Su Qingni. The country was really without a master, and many things in the court could not be solved. How could the country continue to operate? Yu Xing was forced to have no choice but to say, let's change the Qing dynasty into a constitutional monarchy. Constitutional monarchy. The ministers were very confused about this term they had never heard of. It was Kangxi who heard this term from foreigners. Isn't England a constitutional monarchy? According to the foreigners who came to the Qing dynasty, in the 26th year of Kangxi's reign, the so-called Glorious Revolution took place in England. A parliament was established in England, and the king's power was transferred to the parliament. The affairs of the entire country were decided by the parliament. Yes, constitutional monarchy. Su Qingni told everyone what a constitutional monarchy was. In order to prevent Master Kang from being unhappy because of the division of power in his hands and opposing the constitutional monarchy, she told everyone not about the parliamentary constitutional monarchy that was done in one step, but about the transitional form of government formed by feudal countries and imitating the political system of capitalist countries, the dual constitutional monarchy. The dual constitutional monarchy is a hereditary monarch as the head of state with real power. The monarch appoints cabinet members, the government is responsible to the monarch, and the parliament exercises legislative power, but the monarch has a veto. Although the monarch still has great power in this system, it is already very democratic compared to the monarchy. You can't eat a fat man in one bite. If the parliamentary constitutional monarchy is directly used in the Qing dynasty, I'm afraid no one would dare to use it. The imperial power is still very important in everyone's mind and it's quite intimidating. But the dual constitutional monarchy is different. The monarch has power, and the people in the cabinet and parliament also have power. I'm good to you, and everyone is good. I'm sure many court officials are eager to enter the parliament or even the cabinet. Moreover, there was an example of the cabinet managing government affairs in the previous Ming dynasty, so the court officials could understand the cabinet and parliament. This is indeed the case. After hearing Su Qingni's explanation, the minister's eyes became brighter and brighter, and Master Kang's face also showed a satisfied look. He didn't have to give up the throne, and the country still had a way to manage it. It was the best of both worlds. The best of both worlds. Immediately, Master Kang and several ministers agreed to change the Qing dynasty to a dual monarchy. Su Qingni smiled as she listened to their words of agreement. Now it seems that the monarch's power has not been divided. But the men of the Azanjiro family can only rest in bed, and they don't participate in government affairs all year round. No matter how big the power is, it will be divided by the cabinet and parliament. Those ministers have been in power for a long time, how could they return the power to the Azanjiro family? In the end, the dual monarchy will still become a parliamentary monarchy. The emperor will eventually become a decoration. Now Master Kang still doesn't know the fate of the Azanjiro family. He is in high spirits and discusses with several trusted ministers how to reform the system. These ministers spoke enthusiastically and put forward their opinions. Needless to say, after the reform, they will definitely be members of the cabinet. Now they naturally have to strive for more power for the cabinet and let the internal force firmly suppress the parliament. This discussion lasted for half a month. Half a month later, Master Kang was carried by eunuchs to participate in the Grand Court meeting and announce the reform of the Qing dynasty. Yu Xing served as the first prime minister of the cabinet and was in charge of all affairs of the court. Most ministers accepted the decision to pass the throne to other non-Azanjiro people. As for Yu Xing's rise to the top, he was below one person and above 10,000 people. Although everyone was jealous, they dared not show it. You must know that this person holds all the military power in the capital. Who dares to offend him? Aren't you afraid that he will arbitrarily accuse you of a crime and confiscate your property? Those who were arrested by Yu Xing are still in the sky prison. The Qing dynasty smoothly transitioned from an absolute monarchy to a constitutional monarchy, and people felt the benefits of democracy. The idea of democracy began to sprout in everyone's mind, and it will grow stronger and stronger in the future, until one day the Qing dynasty will change the world again because of it. In a remote courtyard of the Tong family. This courtyard was once the courtyard where Heshali was imprisoned. After it was burned down, it was rebuilt. However, because they felt it was unlucky, The Tong family did not spend a lot of money to restore its original appearance, but only let the servants build a few houses at will. Now, there are residents in this courtyard again, and after Su Qingni completed the oath of office as Prime Minister, she returned to the Tong mansion. The first place she came was here to meet the current owner of this courtyard. Emma, is it comfortable to live here? Su Qingni stood at the door and asked the people in the house with a smile. This is where my mother used to live. Emma should be used to living here, right? Chapter 475 Using a 23. The person in the room was Long Kado. That night, everyone in the hall fell down. The women of each family were anxious to claim the children and grandchildren of their own men. They had no time to care about other things, and no one cared about Long Kado, the pioneer of rebellion. Old Hushali successfully brought the person back to Tong Mansion. However, the next day, after Tong Guaoi recovered, he wanted to tie Long Kado up and go to Master Kang to apologize. This time, Long Kado would definitely die. Old Hushali did not dare to stop him. What Long Kado did was to confiscate the family and exterminate the clan. If Long Kado did not die, everyone in the Tong family would die. However, Su Qingni stopped Tong Guaoi and went to the palace herself. After returning, she asked Tong Guaoi to lock Long Kado in the side yard. Old Hushali thought that Su Qingni saved Long Kado because of filial piety, and Tong Guaoi thought so too. Although Tong Guaoi blamed Su Qingni a few words, he was very satisfied when he saw him. Even if Long Kado was a bastard, he was still his biological son. The old man couldn't bear to watch his son die. He was afraid of being held accountable by the royal family, so he had to send his son to death himself. Now, his grandson has saved his son. Even if his son can only be locked up in a small courtyard for the rest of his life, at least he is alive, and at least they don't have to send him off. Therefore, the old couple was relieved to hand their son over to their grandson. They didn't know that the reason why Su Qingni didn't let Long Kado die was because death was too easy for Long Kado. Long Kado wanted to be left alive for Hushali to vent her anger. Long Kado raised his head and roared with a ferocious face, "You unfilial son, get me out quickly." Su Qingni shook her head with embarrassment. "Father, do you still remember why you were locked up?" Su Qingni sighed. "Son finally saved your life, but if you don't suffer a little and want to go out to enjoy yourself, I'm afraid the emperor will be dissatisfied and will take your life." Long Kado's ferocious expression froze. Yes, how could he throw away his life that he had saved with great difficulty? Although being locked up is very unpleasant, it is better to live a miserable life than to die. Yuzinga did not treat himself badly in any way. Although he was locked up in a remote courtyard, the food he ate was not much different from before, and other aspects were also similar to before. Su Qingni laughed. All this was done for Tong Guaoi and his wife and the Tong family to see. But son understands that you are trapped in such a narrow courtyard and there is not much space to move your hands and feet. Isn't son here to help you? Su Qingni said with a smile. Help me? How can you help me? You dare to let me go? Long Kado snorted coldly. Aren't you afraid that the emperor will punish you? Su Qingni made an expression of a filial son who was considerate of his old father, and said, "My son plans to send my father to a farm outside the city. In the farm, my father can move freely and does not have to be confined to a small courtyard. Then why are you still talking so much nonsense? Send me there quickly." Long Kado ordered loudly, eager to go to the farm outside the city. In the farm, he can be domineering and regain his freedom. Su Qingni slightly turned sideways to make way for the door of the room, and made a please gesture with her right hand. Long Kado snorted coldly, threw the hem of his clothes in front of him back, and strode out of the room. Su Qingni took Long Kado to the carriage and took him away from Tong Mansion. She had notified Tong Guaoi and Old Hushali of this arrangement in advance. Although Tong Guaoi was a little worried that Long Kado would do something to bring disaster to the family without anyone to control him after leaving the Tong family, the Old Hushali kept crying in his ear, which made Tong Guaoi feel overwhelmed, so he could only reluctantly agree to Su Qingni's arrangement. In fact, he also wanted his younger son to live a free and better life. It was his indulgence that raised a son as bold as Long Kado. However, the two old people thought that Su Qingni had the same idea as them, that she was Long Kado's filial son, and that she was only thinking about Long Kado's good, but they didn't know that Long Kado was not going to enjoy himself when he left the villa, but to forgive his sins. Hushali was waiting for Long Kado in the manor. Hushali had no love for Long Kado as a couple, only endless hatred, and Su Qingni had instilled in her some ideas about how to deal with scumbags. Heshali was now sharpening her knife, waiting for Long Kato to come. Arriving at the manor, Su Qingni jumped off the carriage and saw Heshali standing in front of the hall. She understood that Heshali was not here to greet her, but to greet Long Kato. Su Qingni called out mother and stood aside, leaving everything to Heshali. Heshali walked forward, came to the front of the carriage, and said to the people inside, "Third master, we have arrived, get off the carriage." The familiar voice made Long Kato tremble all over, and he couldn't help but think of the incident when Li Seer was visited by two evil ghosts. This voice was really Heshali's. He just heard Yu Xingge calling mother. So, Yu Xingge colluded with the evil ghosts to take revenge on him? Exclamation mark. No wonder he behaved so well, saying that he was sending himself to the manor to enjoy the happiness and restore his freedom, but in fact he was sending himself to the gates of hell, right? Bastard. This unfilial bastard. Long Kato almost cursed out loud, but he didn't dare. Master Tong, who was originally fearless, is now really afraid. He is not afraid of people, but ghosts. People have traces, and he can catch the traces and retaliate, but what about ghosts? How should he deal with them? Master San. Heshali urged outside the carriage. Long Kato shrank his body and shrunk himself into the corner, determined not to go out. Heshali was impatient and directly lifted the curtain of the carriage to see the scene in the carriage clearly. Heshali was stunned at first and then laughed. She understood why Long Kato was like this. She also heard about her son's use of her name to deal with Li Seer. Long Kato regarded himself as an evil ghost. Heshali laughed wildly. Master San, do you think that if you hide in the carriage and don't come out, the evil ghost will have no way to deal with you? Come on, send Master Sam to the carriage and invite him out. Heshali ordered. Immediately, two tall and strong servants got on the carriage and surprised Long Kato and slipped down. The servants in this manner were all found by Su Qingni. They were only loyal to Su Qingni and Heshali, and only listened to Heshali and Su Qingni. They would do whatever Heshali asked them to do without compromise. Even if Long Kato had the reputation of Heshali's husband Su Qingni's father, the servants would not listen to him. Seeing Heshali and the servants holding Long Kato in the room, Su Qingni smiled, shook her head, and left. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.